Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in. This is the Captain's Quarters Show. I am your host, L. Milliner, the Captain. Thank you all for being here. I'm going to give it a few minutes here, let some people come on in. This is via From Left to Right USA on YouTube, as well as my personal Facebook page at L. Milliner. Wait for some people to jump on here. Got a great show lined up for tonight. Have a special guest that'll be joining me momentarily. Gonna have a great conversation, maybe a little bit of debate, but hopefully we'll find some common ground with one another, and find something that we can build upon, and kind of give people maybe a few ideas that maybe they haven't considered before, and hopefully you all can learn something, can maybe gain a little knowledge, or be introduced to a different way of thinking that maybe you haven't been, given before. So I'm gonna wait for some people to jump on here. As y'all come in, if you're coming in on YouTube, hit that like. All right, share the video. I appreciate that. Hit that subscribe. The subscribers are going up. I think, man, I was like at 580 the other day. And I think I'm sitting at like 620 as of right now. Let me see. Yeah, 620. So it's gone up like 30, 40 subscribers in the last couple of days. Shout out to y'all. I appreciate y'all. If y'all watching via my Facebook page, hit that like. And if you comment, I will be able to see it in my stream. But if you don't give StreamYard the permission to show your name, I won't see your name if you do it through Facebook. So if you comment but you don't give permission, I won't see your name. So I'll see the comment, I won't know who it is until I go on the actual Facebook page and I can see. Now, if you're doing it via YouTube, I'll see your name. So just kind of clarify that for you all. My daughter almost came in here on me, trying to tell me good night. All right, I'm going to give it a couple more minutes and then we're going to get started here. Y'all sit tight for me as y'all come in, man. It's going to be a great, great, great show for tonight. This is episode 19, by the way. And if you don't know me personally, some of you that know me personally may not even know this, but the number 19 it's so much that circles around that number for me in my life. So my birth date is the 19th. All my brothers were born on the 19th of all of our birth months. And then my brother from another mother and father, he was born on the 19th as well. And another partner of mine from way back was also born on the 19th of his birth month. So the number 19 is like everywhere. So this is number 19. So this is going to be a great one. And I do appreciate my guests for being willing to hop on here and have this conversation. Not too many people really want to have a conversation with people who don't agree with them, who don't see it their way or whatnot. But so shout out to him for coming on here and doing this. As y'all come in, hit that like, hit that subscribe if you're on YouTube. All right, share the video. About to get started. What time is it? 9 o'clock. All right. Let's do it. Let's go. So, let me reintroduce it. You are watching the Captain's Quarters Show. I am your host, L. Milliner, the Captain. This is episode 19. I will be bringing in my guest right now.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
All right, man. Thank you for being here. Go ahead, introduce yourself to those who don't know you, and those who do know you, reintroduce yourself.
So my name's Nick Denman. I work IT. That's what I do for a living, but I am a leftist. I might be the furthest left you're going to have on this show for a bit. But I'm the kind of leftist, you go far enough left, you get your guns back. So I'm one of those that the police should not be the only ones armed. We definitely should have guns. I just believe in regulations, that kind of thing. And my main goal, like I would describe myself as a socialist libertarian. I don't think the government should tell anyone what to do, but should give aid when needed. So if you need a house, you need a job, the government should be there to help you out.
Okay. All right. So you kind of laid something out that I didn't know. So I don't know a whole lot about your political leaning,
Right.
specifically. So you said that you are libertarian,
I'm a socialist libertarian.
socialist. Okay.
I'm on the
So
far left spectrum to libertarian, but still don't think the government should be telling us what to do.
okay. So from my understanding of libertarians, so
Mhm.
just not talking about socialists, but just libertarian.
Mhm.
Libertarians believe in an extremely limited government. So almost to
Right.
the point where it's more like anarchy a little bit because they don't
To an
really want
extent.
kind of sort
Yeah.
of.
Yeah, like I would call that more anarcho-capitalism, trying to get rid of all government.
Uh huh.
To me, libertarian always means the liberty of the person, that the government can't tell you who to be, what to think, what to do. I do think we need social programs and a big government for things like that. I just don't think they should be able to tell you, like, if they're giving you healthcare, what healthcare you can get. I think the whole purpose of government is to work for us, and that's
Mm-hmm.
not what's happening now. We know that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So
Okay.
we need to get back to where we vote for people that really want to change things for the workers and stop giving the corporations what they want. And I really don't know how we do that because they are bought and sold at this point. To
Yeah.
the like, I'm not even sure how you get rid of them. They run the show, they run the rules, they write
well,
their own rules.
yeah. I mean, definitely. I think that I don't know what your views are as far as how America came to be, but from my view, the forefathers had a very clear direction that they wanted America to go in and be. They created it to be in a certain way, and as time went on, after that point, it veered off of the track from what
Well,
they
like
wanted it to be.
I think
And
it had to an extent. I mean, when they were
what?
around, they had slavery, they had muskets, they didn't have technology like we have today. It's going to have to adjust a little bit. But I think the fundamental part of how they founded it is freedom of religion, which means no government funded religion and no government telling you not to practice a religion. I do think
Yep.
that's the core of the founding is that no more do we want the Church of England telling us what we're doing is wrong. We want to be able
Mm-hmm.
to worship on our own accord. And I think that still
Yeah.
stands in America today.
Yeah. But I mean, don't you agree that America was founded on Christian beliefs,
I,
specifically
I,
like
I
Christian
believe
beliefs?
I believe some of the founding fathers were Christians. I know some of them were not. And I think they made it very careful with the First Amendment that they will not endorse any one religion, that they were worried that the thing about any church today, there are a lot of corruption in the churches. If you get corruption in any kind of organization and they're in charge, the whole thing's
Mm-hmm.
gone. So I think by making it that, yes, we're a Christian nation for the most part, that is the highest number of belief. They still didn't want to endorse any one of them because think about how many different like denominations, like which one are we endorsing? Catholicism, Southern Baptists, like there's a whole bunch of different Christianity beliefs and they're all valid.
That's true. But what they all have in common is they all believe that Christ lived. He was the Son of God. He was the only begotten Son of God,
Mhm.
and he lived a sinless life. He was persecuted. He was, flocked and beaten and was murdered. All right,
Yeah,
and
and that
now
is
so we all believe that. So like as far as that goes, the forefathers they like for most of them believe that. So when they
most of
created the
them, but not
government,
all
it
of
created
them.
it based on that.
I think they were very careful to make sure that it's not a 100% Christian country for the same reason that Because think if someone else gets in power. Think if all of a sudden now Muslims are the number one religion. We wouldn't want them forcing that on everybody any more than we want Catholicism. Or the whole point is that if you force one religion, you're neglecting the other ones, and that's kind of against the whole point of America, which is that you're free to believe what you want to believe without the government telling you no.
Mm-hmm.
So long as you're not
But
hurting anybody, like
yeah. See that now that there becomes an issue because there are certain religions that they actually have violence as kind of
yeah,
woven into their, and not only violence but violence
I would
against particular people.
I would
So
argue all religions have a period of violence against particular people that just show that it is a man-made organization at this point. Not that the Bible's man-made, but that the churches and how they're run today have been corrupted by man. And violence, I think, is a man corruption. I don't think that's something we naturally have an instinct for, other than if we're self-defending.
yeah. Because I want to make sure. So when it comes to violence in itself, it's not necessarily a bad thing
Right. If
because
you're defending
because
yourself. Yeah.
yeah, exactly, right. So it's a difference between somebody going and attacking a person who was not expecting it to happen. They weren't. It wasn't a mutual combat type of thing, and then a person who's defending themselves and they're being violent toward the other person. So that right there. I mean, what I'm saying is there are certain religions and beliefs that where people within the religion go and commit violence against people who it's more like in a cold blood thing or in the name of whatever
There's extremism everywhere. Yeah.
liturgy god that they serve.
Right. There's extremism everywhere. We've
Yeah.
seen mass shootings across the country from all religions. There's not really one religion that has a hold on that. I think it comes down to being so indoctrinated that you can't think and put yourself in other people's shoes. You can no longer have a conversation and you resort to violence.
I will say this: no Christian, no Christian goes and commits acts of violence just because. Doesn't happen. It never will happen. Now,
I mean,
if a person claims that they are a Christian, first of all, anybody get on a television,
right. No
get on
one's,
a live
no
stream and
one's,
say they're a Christian, and
I,
then go and
I
commit
will
a
agree with
crime. You know
you
what I'm
that
saying?
no
So
one. I will agree with you that no one is committing crime solely because they're Christian. There are other fundamental issues, mainly
hmm
domestic violence history, that predicate if someone's going to be violent out of the house. It has nothing to do with religion. But there is a problem with domestic violence and not tracking that when it comes to regulating firearms. We know that leads to, if you can't be at home without beating up your mom, you're probably not going to be able to be out in public without beating up some stranger. So
hmm
that kind of history is a great indicator, and that's usually the number one indicator, regardless of any religion, whether or not they're religious. That one always seems to come up that there's a history of that behind the
okay.
shooting.
All right. So let's kind of segue into that to gun control. All right. So
Right.
where do you stand on that? I know you said earlier that you are for guns, but you say certain controls.
Right.
So
We
explain
don't
that.
want the police and the military having weapons that we don't have. We don't want them getting corrupt to where we can't defend ourselves. At the same time, we need to make sure that people are trained that these aren't toys, that these are very dangerous, designed to kill people, and will do that if not taken care of. I think regulating it the same way we do like a car, where you get a license to carry, you're trained on how to carry, on how to correctly store, things like that will go a long way into making sure that people aren't letting just anyone handle their guns. That and making it so that if you sell a gun secondhand to someone who then goes into Chicago and kills somebody, you're liable for that too. I think there are a few things we could put in that would stop the main source of violence, which is guns being sold black market to people that shouldn't have them.
Um, what is there a certain age limit of a
I
gun
think
owner?
18, if you're old enough to go to war, you're old enough to go through a background check and get trained for that, I think.
Why not younger?
You can definitely be trained. I just don't think you should be able to purchase a gun until you're 18 without your parents' permission. I'm pretty big on needing the parents' permission for things to do that.
hmm
Even when it comes to being transgender, like I know that's a different topic, but the parents do need to agree with that. It's not something that a child should be able to decide on their own with their parents going against them.
Okay. So
Same with guns. Like if you can train your kid how to use a gun, that's a great idea, great for safety. But they shouldn't be able to go into a gun shop and just buy one without you knowing until they're 18.
okay.
I think as a parent, you should be informed if they buy one before then.
Okay, so that's fair. So 18, they can go do it on their own because they're an adult.
Mhm.
They're under 18. So what's the age limit? Like we said, like 15, 12.
Now, I think if you're the parent and you think your 5-year-old can learn to shoot a rifle, go for it. I think
Okay.
teaching your kids what to do with the weapon you've passed the registration for, you've gotten the background check, you're good to go. That's
Mm-hmm.
fine. It's just having them buy it, because if they're in high school and they're depressed and they don't want to tell you, if they can go buy a gun at 14, I'm more worried about them than anyone else at that point. Like
Yeah.
that's
Okay.
you want to know what your kids are up to at that point to guide them if you can.
Yeah, I definitely. Yeah. Okay. All right. So when it comes to, I agree with that. I think that I've said I think 16ish is probably a good age to
That's not
first
bad
to
either.
be a gun owner, because I look at it like this.
Same with the car.
It's
That's a good age.
Yeah, at 16 you could drive a car, right? Driving a
Right. Yeah.
car is far more dangerous than owning a gun. So
Well,
if
I
you can drive a
mean,
car, which is a
they're both
missile.
they're both pretty dangerous. The
But
car is not
we're talking
designed
about
to kill.
like the number of accidents, the number of deaths associated with car accidents, vehicles. It's like
For our
exponential.
age group, yeah,
So
for our age group, it's higher. For
yeah,
younger kids, though, it is the number one is guns right now, and I do think a big part of that is the school shootings. The fact that the media decides to make like martyrs out of these people and put their face over the newspaper. Now they're famous, even though they committed a horrible act. It
hmm
inspires other kids that are also depressed, and without some real kind of gun control and some kind of really mental health in schools to actually be like, hey, this is something that we've noticed about you. You might be depressed. Like, we have to fund that if we're being serious. And you're not going to see a party that goes against gun control win Gen Z in the future. And I don't think you're going to see them win Gen Alpha. These kids grew up doing shooter drills in their schools. Like, I didn't have
hmm
that. I don't know if you had that, but I have anxiety. That would give me horrible anxiety.
Nah,
I
I
would
think
not want that.
I think that kind of came later, like high school. I think we might have done
Yeah.
like a couple here
So
and there, but yeah. Now it's
that's a
totally
big
different.
that's you're not going to win those kids if you're saying like, oh, we're fine, guns are fine. Like, you need
Yeah.
to tell them we have your back and we're doing something. But yeah, taking guns away isn't solving the problem. It's
hmm
training people to know how to handle these guns and to know when someone maybe should have it taken for a period of time.
Now, okay, so now let's get to the regulation part. So
Mhm.
what does that look like in your opinion, as far as determining who is well enough to own a gun and who is not well enough to own a gun? And how would you go about figuring that out?
Definitely, that's a difficult conversation, and I'm sure smarter people than me will have a lot more to say. I think at least base wise is a training course, training them how to shoot, how to properly holster, what kind of gun safe is going to stay locked compared to one that a kid can crack,
Well,
basic things like
hold on,
that.
yeah,
Mhm.
hold on. So I mean, before they're deemed, deeming someone well enough to own the gun to begin with, before you get to having the gun, knowing how to
Got you.
use it, and that type of thing.
I
I'm saying
I
a
think
person that's mentally well enough to own the gun. How would you determine that?
a good way to do that is with a background check for a criminal record specifically for domestic violence. Domestic violence is almost always the first indicator of a mass shooter before they become a mass shooter. If you can
Mm-hmm.
find evidence of that, that might be a holdoff. Can they get some kind of like waiver to maybe go through? Sure. But at least at the beginning, that should be a red flag that this person can't control themselves with family. What are they gonna do when they're out with a stranger pisses them off and they have a
Hmm.
gun now? So
Okay. So all right. So here's the issue with that. All right. So you're saying domestic violence charge, so it can be a misdemeanor whatever, just
Nah,
misdemeanor
you would need to
assault.
be convicted. It would need to be a conviction, not
So
just a
so
charge
okay,
or a
okay,
allegation.
all right, that's fair. That's fair enough. All right, so let's say it's a conviction, right?
Mhm.
Because there's a conviction, does that make that person guilty?
A conviction would, allegation would not. If they're, that's what I mean. If they're alleged and it's in this court system, you
Hmm.
can't take it away. But if they've been convicted by a jury that they did that, then yeah, that would be until they serve their time, no go.
But
And
how many?
it's not a life sentence. Usually that's like a 7 year sentence probation, and they would just be on probation, like a convict would when they get out of jail.
Okay, but then I mean, it could
Retest
be
later.
but it could be a, I mean, it could be convicted of a misdemeanor assault, right? It doesn't have to be a felony.
I would say felony is probably
So
more
you so so
what
so
you're
so you
looking
so
for.
you so you're saying specifically felonies?
Right.
Okay.
Misdemeanor can be like you got in a fight at a bar, and
Mm-hmm.
like that happens. But a felony is you beat the crap out of somebody when you didn't have to. They were already
Mm-hmm.
down. Like that. That shows that you do not think rationally in that kind of situation, and that maybe we should hold off on letting you have a weapon, at
Yep.
least for now. Again, once that's served, you can reapply. I don't see a problem with that.
Okay. All right. Okay. Now, outside of a conviction, all right, of a felony,
Mhm.
as far as red flag laws, like
Mhm.
people talk about red flag laws. Do you support something like that where if it's in your neighbor that's saying some things that you think that you look at and say
So,
that's crazy,
not for
is
a
it
neighbor.
okay?
No.
Huh? Go ahead.
Not for a neighbor. I think that needs to be a family member or someone close to you, a friend or family. I think neighbors suck. Let's be real. So you have some, you get lucky every now and then, but most of the times they're pretty bad, and
Yeah.
they're going to say all kinds of stuff. But if your spouse is concerned, that's something that should be taken seriously.
Okay. All right. Um. Now, the thing about that is, then it gets to what is a spouse? So, like, is that a
Right.
married couple, non-married couple? Are they common law or
I would
like,
say you probably want them living together, because if they're not living together, how would they know that you're a danger? It's one of the things that this is someone that needs to be close to you. And
oh,
most of the time in those situations, they will talk to the families and like if there were just something I could have done. And that's what that's for, is be like, I'm not okay with how my son is behaving. I'm worried about him. Can we put red flag on him right now just to make sure nothing happens? And again,
hmm,
once they're 18, that won't work. Like you're a kid,
yeah,
but it's definitely something. It's not going to be. It'd be like a month or two. It wouldn't be a long permanent thing. It would just be for that instance until they're evaluated and pass, I don't know, any kind of psychiatrical thing that says they're not violent.
okay. Um, it kind of it gets sticky. It gets
It
real
does.
sticky
It does.
when
You're
you
going to
yeah,
get some good
be,
people with that,
yeah,
but I think
yeah, because you're gonna have some women who
right.
uh,
But
uh,
I
uh,
do
the the
think
the
it's
boyfriend cheats on her,
mhm.
and then she's the aggressor, and then because he defended himself, now he's the bad guy because he's the big 6'3" guy, and she's 4'9", like you know,
Right. But like it's one of those things where you're going to get some people that maybe shouldn't have it taken, but I
yeah,
think it's worth it if we're saving people. And again, if that doesn't stop mass shootings, then that's not a program we should continue.
yeah,
These are just ideas. We don't know if these will work.
yeah,
We're hoping to
yeah.
try something.
I don't see that working. Because to be honest, so let all right. So
Mhm.
now I'm gonna talk about just the mass shootings. So when we hear about mass shootings, the
Mhm.
ones that they show on the news, they're always the ones that happen in a movie theater, at the mall, at a church, at a school. But
Right.
those
They're
are far
usually,
and few between.
oh yeah, yeah. Most shootings are people that know each other, right?
Right.
Most
And
homicide.
yep.
I don't think you're
And
ever going to end that. I don't think you're ever going to be able to stop
well,
gang members or just anyone that's working together being pissed, killing each other. I
yep.
do think
So
the
yep.
reason
So
they show the theater is because it's someone that has no connection to those people. And that's what's
but
scary, is that
yeah.
this could be a random person you don't know.
But
And
should that type of shooting that you really like you said you don't expect that to happen. So
You hope it
How,
does.
how can we do gun control based on something like that where this person has a clean record? They haven't been to a psychiatric
Yeah,
facility.
if they have a
That
clean
nothing
record,
like
there's no
how
way
are we
to
gonna
stop
how
it.
are you gonna
Yeah,
prevent that?
you're not. If they have a clean record, you're just not going to. But I
Right.
do think if you had that program, you would prevent a few. I do think you would prevent more than the false positives you'd get. At the end of the day, though, we're never going to know if we don't try something. What we're doing now is not working. We're
Um.
getting more and more mass shootings every year, and it doesn't matter who the president is, doesn't matter his current. It's just something about America is angry right now, and we need to kind of stop that from boiling over.
Um. The majority of the shootings, I think right now we've had like some 400 mass shootings in America.
Mhm.
And a mass shooting is basically made up of a shooting that at least
Kills two
injures
or three
three
more.
people
Yeah,
or more.
yeah,
So no one has to die, but as long as three people or
right.
more are hit in the same vicinity,
I
it's a
don't think
mass
we can
shooting.
use. Yeah, I really don't think we can use that metric going forward to solve the problem of the Columbine killer, which I think is what people are really afraid of.
But see, the thing is, if we're going to if we're going to really talk about gun control, and if we're really going to talk about making the our cities and our country safer, the Columbine shooter are not causing the bulk, not even close to the bulk
No,
of
that's true.
the shootings. So it's like a waste of time to really focus on those guys when you have the main bulk of these shootings are
I,
drug
I
related,
I
gang
get what you're
related,
saying,
domestic
but
violence shootings. That's what we should be focused on, not
right.
the random Columbine guy or girl that like that you're not gonna see coming. But you
I
see,
I
you see, you see,
understand.
you see, you see,
Yeah,
Lil Willie. Lil Willie is drug dealing, and he's part of a RICO
but
sting
who is he
operation.
killing?
They're the
He's
ones.
killing
They're the
another
ones
drug
committing the
dealer.
crimes, huh?
Like a lot of these shootings, they're people that know each other. These are people that have beef. Like if you're not beefing with a drug dealer, you're probably not going to get shot by a drug dealer.
Not
You can
true.
get shot.
Not true.
I mean, you can. It happens for sure,
All
but
the
it's
time. Happens
less
all the
likely.
time. It's all the time though. It's not like it's not far and few between as you would say the Columbine shooter. That's far and few between.
That is far.
Shootings in the streets where I mean,
Mhm.
if I watch the news and you see news,
Oh yeah, there's one every
we've
night.
had about 5 mass shootings in my city this year alone. The bowling
Right.
alley, at a outside of a kids trampoline park.
What do
We had
you
another one
think would be?
at a Walmart.
What do
So
you think the solution is to stop that?
I'm
To
glad you
remove
asked me that. We need to first and foremost, no, we have to be honest. We have to stop lying. People have to stop ignoring the elephant in the room. The bulk of these crimes are, first of all, committed by black individuals. That's number one. That's just the reality. In my city alone, we have about 200,000 people. The city is about 60% black and about 35% white.
Well, that could
We
very well be why you're seeing that higher, because
no no
the
no no no
FBI
no hold
data.
on hold on hold on hold on. Let me finish.
Go ahead.
The city just flipped. It just flipped the demographic in the last few years.
Okay.
So when I was growing up, guess who was the majority? Whites. Guess
Right.
who committed the most of the bulk of the murders?
I
I'll
would
let you say
guess.
it.
I would guess white people at that point.
No.
No, I mean, I'm
See,
looking at the
you're out of touch.
statistics.
You're out of touch. Either number one, I will say you're out of touch and you have no idea about this situation, or you just don't want to say what the reality is. I don't know which one it is,
I know the
but
talking point is the problem. I know the talking point
it's
is
not a talking
despite
point.
being this percent.
It's no talking
The
point.
problem is when you look at the FBI data, white people outnumber black people so much in this country that it's not even close.
Right.
Now, per capita, you might have a point that there's a higher per capita,
I
but you
know.
also got to wonder why is that? Because it's not based on race; it's based on usually poverty, and there has
No,
been a systematic problem in this country that is
not
hurting
true.
certain people. You don't think so?
Not true. I'll explain why.
Okay.
How come if it's about poverty, how come when you look at pick any random city in America, what city you want to name? Name your random city.
Cincinnati.
Cincinnati. I'm gonna look it up right now. We're gonna look up their demographics, and I'm gonna tell you before I even look at their stats. I'm gonna look at the demographics. And I'm gonna tell you about how many murders they probably have on a normal year. And we'll see if I'm right.
Okay.
Cincinnati, Ohio.
I still am not sure what your solution is, though. Are you saying that we shouldn't let black people have weapons?
I'm gonna get to it.
Okay.
Let's see here. Cincinnati. They have in the city they have 310,000 people. I'm gonna look at their demographic, and I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna make a guesstimate of their murder rate. So in 2020, the census, it is 50%, almost exactly 50% white,
Okay.
41.5% black,
And everyone
300,000
else.
people.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna say they probably have about 100 homicides, around 100 homicides, maybe a little bit more, on a typical year.
For 300, yeah, that's
And I
about
bet
right.
you the majority of those homicides are a black perpetrator, and the victim is also black. In majority of the like, probably over 80%. What do you think?
I mean, it's possible. I don't think that it's a genetic thing at all. I do think it's a social
But
thing for sure.
okay. So I'm not saying that they're born to do this. I'm just saying this is the reality, right?
Um,
It's just what it is.
I'm going to agree to disagree on the data for that because I've read the data differently. But I will say that breaking up anyone by that kind of goes against the Second Amendment, which what's the point of the Second Amendment if we can tell who can use it and who can't? That kind of defeats the purpose of an amendment. And part of freedom sometimes is having things we don't agree with that, that
Yeah,
might not be what we think is
not having
ideal.
red flag laws, right?
Right. Yeah, like not having those, I don't agree with that, but that's part of it. Part of it's a compromise. I think if you were to look more into mental health and poverty and wages, and you were to raise the wages, I think you would see a lot of the violence go down. I think a lot of the reason gang members are violent, they have to be. They're protecting territory. But if they have an option to get a job that pays better, they're going to take it. They just, right now, drugs pay way better than any job that they're qualified to get with a high school degree. If they can afford college, they might get a better job, but that's not a guarantee anymore.
But the thing
It,
about it, but the thing about it being a poverty issue is how come if you look at places around any city around America that's a majority white population, you don't see nearly the rate of violent crime that you see in a city that is majority black city. Why is that?
I mean,
But
murder rates are
poverty
higher
would be the
than
same.
rural areas.
Poverty the same, but the rate of violence is not the same. Why is that?
Well, that's how you define violence. Shooting each other is definitely going to be listed as, gun violence.
Right.
But a
So,
homicide is premeditated, where in rural areas actually have higher homicide rates. And the reason is these people know each other and they get beef, and then they premeditate that they're going to kill each other. Where a lot of times in the cities, it's a act of passion that doesn't count as a homicide as much as like manslaughter would. So there are more shootings in the cities. There's more people. But I don't think that you can go by a city that has like 10 times the people compared to like a smaller town and be like, well, there's more crime there. Yeah, there's more people. I don't think that solves the problem of crime and guns if you just say well, this is the problem, it's these people. I don't think that's the case. I think there is a social reason that is causing them to take a more violent path to get ahead that we could correct.
what would make them want to commit crime? Why would that be?
They're not able to pay their rent. They're not able to put food on the table.
What's it got to do
And
with crime though? What's it got to do with being violent?
well, one, drugs is a pretty good way
I'm
to
just
make
trying
a
to. I'm
lot of
just trying
money.
to. Yeah, I'm just trying to understand. Like, if I'm hungry, why
Right.
would I want to go hurt somebody? If I'm
So
hungry, I want to go
you need to
eat.
make money, and one of the best ways to make money in this country is drugs. We buy a lot of drugs in this country. We have the most drug users per capita of any country, and that's a good way to
Right.
get rich. Unfortunately, that is very territorial, and because of that, they will kill each other over territory. So they have to be violent for that job, and if that's the only job they can get that pays them enough to live the way they want to live, they're going to take it. We need more opportunities to give good paying jobs to people without a degree, without anything but a high school going through and doing your normal thing, that they don't have to resort to this. We need
So,
more trade school. We need more good paying jobs that will train on the job for people that might not have that skill.
do you think that education and jobs are the main things that you need to not be a violent person?
I think education can help. I think a lot of it's upbringing. I think a lot of it is having parents that will tell you right from wrong, a good support community. And a lot of that is not something that you get the further down the rung you go. You might not have both parents. You might not have a support group that actually gives a shit. And until you bring the communities up to where everyone can get that base level of support, I think you're going to see the violence continue.
Yep. I'm gonna say something about that real quick in just a second. Adrian says there are too many guns being sold to the wrong people. It's easier to get a gun than it is to enroll in college or to apply for a job. That's the problem.
It's got a good
Uh,
point. It's
so,
very, like
so,
here in
so,
Vegas, we have gun shows. I can walk onto that gun show that day, have a secondhand sale from someone with no background check, and leave with a rifle. That
oh
shouldn't be
no,
going.
but you said a second hand. So you're not saying you can go into the gun show and get it from
No,
the licensed person selling the gun,
absolutely
right?
not. But they
Right.
are allowing secondhand sales on the premises, which kind of
Who
defeats the purpose.
who's allowing it though? How you
The
know they're
gun show,
allowing it?
they're
How you
they
know
are
they're?
allowed to go in
Why would they
there
allow
and
that?
sell their wares.
But why
It's
would they
just
allow it though?
it's Nevada. Our laws are really pro gun. So they believe that secondhand sales are also under the Second Amendment without any need for a background check.
But isn't that
I
illegal?
It's not here. Our laws say that that is perfectly legal here. I think that needs to change.
So they can sell to anybody?
Hmm.
So there's
If
no
it's
age limit or
secondhand,
anything?
nope. They can. If you got the cash, they can hand you the gun. And again, there are some states
So
like that.
so so a 10-year-old can go to the person and say, I want a 25
If
caliber, and they'll
if
say,
that
okay.
guy is corrupt enough to sell a 10-year-old a gun, there is no legal ramification for him doing so. Because it's a secondhand sale. It's like a gift. You could say I gave it to him. It was a gift. There's all kinds of ways they get around it by saying that they're not actually
But y'all, I
selling.
mean, hold on a second. So you telling me in Las Vegas or in Nevada,
Mhm.
Nevada is don't you guys have a Democratic governor?
We did. We now have Lombardo,
Yeah,
who is the
yeah.
sheriff of Vegas. He's a Republican.
So you guys don't have a law against there's no age limit on who has a gun or not.
There is at a gun show or at a gun store. So you do need to be, I think it's 18. It could be 21. I'm not sure. It's
Hmm.
lax. But again, they don't have any of those rules in place for secondhand sales. And the gun shows we have are all secondhand sales.
But I'm
It's like a
saying,
big festival.
but
So
I'm asking something specific though. I'm
mhm,
saying, do y'all have a law against a certain age person having a gun? Period is what I'm saying. Being in possession of a gun.
most likely we do.
Right, right. So
Yeah.
it would be illegal for this adult to give a 10-year-old a gun, whether they got the money or not, right?
It's illegal for the kid to own the gun, to have the gun, but it's not illegal to sell it to him. Again, it's a loophole that needs to be fixed, and I think most people would agree that's something we can tie up.
Yeah, that's interesting right there. I would
That's
like
a
to look into
much
that.
easier loophole to close than it is to go and say we're just going to take all the guns. Because again, that doesn't really solve anything. The people that are going to use the guns for violence aren't going to give them back. Like, let's be
Yeah,
real. You're just going to get the guns from everyone that's being responsible. So, and anything they were to pass today would be we'd all be grandfathered in.
yep. Let's see. Loser says the total of every black man, woman, and child in America represents 12 to 15% of the population. Less than half of that total is responsible for 50% of all murders. Absolutely right. According to the most recent stats. It's been like that for a long time. That's not even recent stats. It's been
I
like that for
hear
a long
that,
time.
and I usually get the link to the FBI charts where it's supposed to say that, and every time I've read it, it's more white people have committed crimes against white people than black have committed against black. I'm not sure what I'm missing, but that's not what I'm reading from that data.
No, I've actually looked at it several times, and it's clear that blacks are responsible for 50% of all homicides in America. That means over all demographics, over whites, Asians, Hispanics, Native American, anything you want to name. They are the top of everybody. So they
I
commit the most
I
the
don't see that
half of
in
the
the data.
murders, and they make up about half of all victims of homicide in America. So we're
Well, I
talking
mean
about
that
12% of the population
well, being
is
half of the
responsible for
victims,
half, and they're the victims of half. That's a problem, and no, and people would
yeah,
love to
they're
skip
being
over that and be like, oh, it's because of this right here. Like that's huge. That's a big
again.
number.
I'm gonna agree to disagree on the stats. I will say we do have a gun problem. I will say we have a
Why you
gun
disagree on the
problem
stats?
because what I've read is that no matter what data I've looked at, there's so many more white people that commit so many more crimes. There's just more of us that it doesn't come close. Again, if you're talking per capita, that's different. But overall numbers, we're still number one at crime. When you do
No.
per capita, it does lower it a bit.
Yeah. I mean, per capita is way up there too. But I'm saying blacks constitute half of the murders in America.
Yeah, I have not
All
seen
murders.
data.
Let's say there's 10,000 murders in America, right? A year. 5,000 would be committed by a black person, most likely a black man,
Right,
and
but
the victim, half of the victims were going to be all black. That's the stat. That is the stat.
that's what I've been told online. But every time I've gotten that article, that is not, or that those FBI stats myself, that's not what I'm seeing.
What are you
Maybe I'm reading
seeing?
it wrong. I'm seeing like
It's clear.
60% white. 60% of the homicides in this country are white, caused by white, and about 30% by black people. And you could make an argument for per capita being way higher there, but
Yeah.
it doesn't come to the thing that there are more black people committing crimes than white people. Overall, it's maybe homicides that I'm not looking at, but overall crimes, like we're talking
Yeah.
about
It's
like
I'm saying homicides. I
okay,
keep saying
so
homicides.
I would need to see that data specifically, but I
Yeah.
really I can't comment on it because I've not seen that.
So I mean, I've studied this like literally. I took stats in college. I've
So
looked at the
what's the
stats.
solution?
I've done this for fun. So I'm telling you that is the stat. Now
Okay.
for your sake, you don't know it. So let's say that is the truth. Is that not astounding, or what do you think about that? If that is the number, half of homicides and half of the victims are black.
It tells me we have a real disconnect with income. It tells me a lot about the economy of the country because I don't think you become violent just willy nilly. I think you're forced
Mm-hmm.
into that. And if we're seeing that many people of color, specifically black people, committing crimes, it means they're not getting served the same way they should be, like the rest of us are. And that would be, I think, a much better solution to kind of lift them up and kind of help them have a higher quality of life to stop the violence than just because just blaming them isn't going to do anything. Getting rid of guns for them is against the Constitution. That's not going to work. So,
If anybody needs a gun, it's a black person because other black people are
right,
gonna kill them. So
that or the
yeah,
cops, like there's
yeah.
all kinds of
Cops ain't
crazy
the work.
stuff.
Yeah, cops ain't the problem. No, no, not even close. No, the
No,
biggest threat to
no,
another black person is another black person. That's the
no. The
reality.
biggest threat
Black
to
people know
any
this.
the biggest threat to any race is another person of that race. That's just how it works. You're more likely to be murdered by someone you know than someone you
Yeah,
don't.
yeah, but it's just interesting. Like in my city, so like I was talking about earlier, when we had less black people in the city, they still committed 90% of all the murders. We had like maybe like two white people commit a murder a year. It's still like that now. Why
I
is
just
that?
wonder if that's. It sounds to me like a reporting issue because it logically doesn't make sense that the smaller group would be
Hmm.
committing more. I
Yeah, that
can't.
don't make sense, right? But
So
I'm not. This is not the only city though. Because if you look at other cities, it's the same way.
right, but it still might be
Isn't it
that
interesting?
they're prosecuting the people that do that if they're black more often than there's something else going on because it just logically doesn't make any sense that this one group would just they're not more violent than anyone else. There's nothing genetically different about them really, so there's something causing it.
Have you been around
So
black people?
oh yeah,
Where?
where
Yeah, yeah.
I've gone to
Where?
college. I've grown up with black people.
You went
I
to
know black.
college? So have you ever been to like a black neighborhood? Like you ever been to like
I've gone to black
public
churches.
schools or
I
anything?
went I went to black church.
Not church, man. I mean
For like
church. They ain't shoot nobody in church.
no, but that would have been my father. He grew up in predominantly black neighborhoods. His dad was a principal, so
So
he
I'm
went
saying,
around.
yeah. So I'm
And I
saying
get a
for
lot
you,
of that information from him because these were his friends. These are just other people like him. Like they like again, as long as they're not hurting other people and killing each other is definitely hurting other people. But
yeah,
like I it doesn't bother me if they have a gun or not. It doesn't bother me like what their if their culture is different than mine because it doesn't affect
yeah.
me. Same with like a transgender person. I don't give a shit. Like it doesn't affect me at all what they decide to do with their life.
Okay. All right. So we've exhausted that. I think I'll say this right here with the
Mhm.
gun issue. So before I get to that, you asked me what would I do about it. Here's what
Yeah.
we do. Here's what we do. Black community is the worst when it comes to this. It's a phenomenon in the black community. Not only about the violence, but fatherless homes. Okay? It's like 70% of households are single mothers. That's a problem.
I I think a
What happened?
big part of that is we're putting people in prison for small possession charges that we wouldn't normally put in prison. I think we have a lot of reform we need to do with the justice system that if I get caught with an eighth of weed, though it's legal where I am, say I'm in Oklahoma where I'm from, if I get caught with an eighth of weed there, I should have the same punishment as a black guy. But that's not how Oklahoma does that. I would might get a slap on the wrist. He's going to prison. And that's definitely taking a father out of there. So
Okay. Here's the thing. Here's the issue with that right there. Like I hear that a lot. I hear that a whole lot about simple
and
marijuana possession,
it's
getting
not
somebody
because of his
15
race
years,
either. Yeah,
right? So
it's not because of his race. It's
yeah.
because I have the money to bail out and get a good lawyer. He might
Okay.
not.
Okay. But what I'm gonna say about that is most times when a person gets pulled over and they get found to have marijuana or whatever drug, okay, whatever drug, marijuana, whatever drug, they usually, unless they got a certain amount, it ain't gonna be that big of a deal as long as they're like honest about it.
It depends on
You're
Oklahoma.
not gonna get. I don't care what color you are. You're not going to get 20 years for simple possession of marijuana.
Oh, there's a
Now,
few in Oklahoma that
if you
have.
have a gun, if you have a gun associated with in the vehicle, and you have the drugs in the vehicle, then you're looking at something else, right? Because now you've upped the
What if the
charges.
gun is registered though? What if you have the right to have the gun,
Doesn't
but the
matter
gun
because if you got the gun with the weed and you got a certain amount of weed, now you're trafficking. That's a
yeah,
whole
but
nother
like
thing.
there are a few high profile cases of fathers in Oklahoma who were put in jail for like seeds, and they used to if you had a seed on you that was a felony in Oklahoma for a long time. It's still very strict there.
So I mean, so
And
okay. So but if it was a felony, why would somebody do that?
why would somebody sell
Carry seeds when
carry
it's a
weed?
felony.
Because they want to smoke weed. Like people want to do drugs. What do you mean?
So they want to go to jail.
No, but they like people like it's like saying that oh well he's drinking wasn't legal in that county. Like people still drink. Like it's not.
Right. So right. So when they get arrested, whose fault is that? Is that the police fault?
No, of course not. I just don't
Whose
think it should
fault?
be. I don't. I think it's the legislation's fault for making it illegal in the first place. I don't think you should prohibit anyone from doing anything with their own body. Like, as a fundamentally free person, if I want to eat mushrooms, I should be able to do that. If I want to do heroin, that should be my right. As
So
long
if
as
you
I'm
want, so
not
if you want to
hurting
have
other
that, so if somebody wants to be on heroin or mushrooms, whatever, and drive their vehicle down the road with
No, no,
heroin
no,
and
no, no,
mushrooms in the
no,
car,
no,
that's fine.
no, 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 no,
What?
no. That would be the same as driving under the influence of alcohol. You cannot hurt other people or put them at risk. If you want to be at home and do your drugs and you're getting your job done, you're going to work, contributing, I don't give a shit. Like, I don't think the government should arrest you simply because you have a chemical in your body. I think they should help you get off of it, but I don't think they should penalize you when you clearly have a problem with addiction. Like, that's a real problem people work with, and I don't think it's helping them to throw them in jail.
Yeah, I think that when it comes to drugs, it's a slippery slope because here's what happens: you you tell people, hey, you can use this certain drug, but you can have a certain amount of it on you or whatever at a time.
Mhm.
People don't. People do not just say, okay, government, I'll make sure that I follow this to the T, right? So I'm gonna make
No,
sure I have this amount or whatever, and I'm not gonna smoke it when I'm driving because you all said I can't do that, but I can carry it from point A to point B, and then I can smoke it there or whatever. Like, people are not gonna buy by that. Like, they're going to get out of hand with it. They're gonna
and they're
have way
breaking
more
the
than they
law.
need, and
Like,
then what happens is you when you start introducing drugs, you start introducing more violence. With drugs comes more violence.
I
That's just human
well,
nature. That's just the way it is.
because of the way we're set up is why we have gangs dealing the drugs in the first place. If you legalize them and let Pfizer make your drugs for you, there's no more black market. You just go into a
How's that go?
clinic.
How's that going in Colorado?
Colorado doesn't have people making drugs. What do you mean? Like, they
I
have
mean, but it's
clinics.
legal. It's legal to have drugs there.
It's legal to have drugs there.
So
They have a
so why
lot
they
of
need they don't need drug dealers, right?
No, they don't really. If they have them for sale,
So is drug dealing not a thing there anymore?
I mean, they're gonna, like, it's out here. Weed is legal everywhere. There are
Well,
still
yeah,
people
but
that sell
I'm
weed.
saying so in California and Colorado, places like that where it's legal to have marijuana, is the drug game over with or no?
So no, I mean, there's still
Right,
people selling it for cheaper, but as a
right. It's always
consumer,
gonna be the
as
case. It's always gonna be the case.
if you're a normal, like, what are we worried about? People getting drugs
No,
or
no, no.
the wrong people?
So
Because if
my
we're worried
premise
about,
on
like, kids getting drugs, this is the better way because now
my
it's adult
premise
ways
on
to
this
get
is
marijuana.
drugs create violence. So just because the government says, "Hey, you guys, you're
It
allowed to
creates
smoke heroin now,"
violence
or
because of the
whatever you
gang.
do with heroin, I don't know if you smoke it, drink it, whatever you do with heroin. If whatever you do with that, they say you can use it. Now all of a sudden,
Right.
all the drug dealers are gonna say, hey guys, we can't sell heroin no more because the government sells it now. So I mean, there's no need for us anymore. Like, that's not how that works. There's
It
always gonna be a
depends.
market for drug dealing. They always want to make it cheaper, easier to get to. And then what comes
Maybe.
with that? Violence.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess so. But at the main time, like, if that were the
Yeah,
case, you'd still have people selling liquor, wouldn't you? Like, secondhand moonshine. And you do,
they
but
still
it's
do
not a
it.
big
Yeah, they
deal.
still do it. Yeah,
It's
exactly.
not a
I'm glad you
huge
brought that up. Yeah,
enterprise.
they do that. They do that too.
They
Yeah,
do, but
exactly.
is it a huge enterprise? Is that something that a lot of violence is coming from? I think for the most part, they're dead. They're, like, dead in the water. I can
Well,
go to any
what
store
what
and get a bottle of liquor that I know is safe compared to from,
well,
Earl down
the
the
thing
street.
about liquor is it's a little different because there's not a lot of, I mean, there has been violence associated with it,
Oh
but
yeah,
when it comes to
yeah.
like drugs like heroin, crack,
Well, yeah,
meth,
but
now
if
you're talking about big bucks for this drug, right? And you have to
right,
get it in from a different
why
country. That's a
why
part of
are
it
they
too
big
now.
bucks? Why are they big? Because we're buying them. We're buying the
But
drugs.
because it's coming from a different country too. When you
Right.
have to get
So if
something
we grew
from
them
5,000
here,
miles away, it has to be it's a lot of hills and valleys to get over,
right.
right? To get it here.
So what if
So
we grew them
that's
here
a very
and
competitive
sold them at
thing.
treatment facilities? We could grow it here. We could sell it at treatment facilities where you have a doctor that's monitoring what you're getting and constantly encouraging you to quit. And that's where you get it, and it's cheaper. We underbid any kind of drug dealer that would come through. Like, it's $5 a hit. I don't know how much heroin goes for, but let's
What?
say it's cheap. Like, and the point is to get them off. That is still a better system than letting drug dealers run turf wars and sell it that way. especially because I don't think anyone in this country doesn't have someone they haven't lost from the opioid crisis. I certainly have.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think they should die because they were addicted. I think they need treatment. And we're getting fentanyl now. Like, we're getting
Yeah.
stuff that's really bad. That heroin is actually safer. Like, that should have never been a case where the alternative to the drug that's illegal is more dangerous and more accessible.
Yeah.
We kind of saw this with psychedelics. They banned LSD, and we got all these research chemicals that can kill you, but they're legal because they're a random chemical that China was able to make.
Because it's pharma. Yeah. It's pharma. Yeah.
I think
Pharma
by
created.
offering quality tested product to people who are addicted, most of them are going to choose, like, I'd rather have the one that's been tested, that it doesn't have pesticides, it's not full of fentanyl, it is solid. I think you're going to see people, even if it costs a little more, go for that. And I see that here in Vegas. Like, the stuff we have is all tested. Has to be tested by a third party. What you see is what you get. Stuff I buy on the street from someone, I don't know what that is. I don't know if it's telling me the truth. So I'd much rather go and get the tested quality stuff that I know isn't going to mess with me than the stuff that might, cause my lungs to explode because they put a chemical in it. And I think that's the solution.
Yeah.
You're not going to stop people doing drugs. That's not going to happen.
No. I mean, you're not gonna stop it, but the last thing you want is people just being drug heads. I mean, it's just not.
Yeah.
It's not productive. It's not productive for society. It's the terrible idea.
And we need rehab. We need quality rehab for that. That's.
But what do we need rehab for if we're gonna allow people to do heroin and whatever drug they want to choose, mushrooms or whatever? Like, why would you need facilities if that's the case?
One, I really think by, like, growing up, weed was always the one you kind of wanted to try because it was illegal, right? At least in my case, where alcohol, not a big deal. Like, that was legal. I think the more of these that are legalized, the less of an incentive it is to break the rules and try it. If your dad's doing it, why are you going to do it? Like, I think by normalizing them, kids won't find them as elusive. I think a lot of the reason kids are drawn to that specifically is because that it's taboo.
I disagree with that. I think the kids do what is available for them to do. So if alcohol is available,
heroin.
If alcohol is available, they'll drink alcohol. Right. If it's marijuana, they'll do marijuana. I think they'll do whatever's available to them.
You have to be 21 for both of those. They still get a hold of them. So the point is that these drugs aren't for kids. They're for adults. Adults are the ones doing the drugs, and no one should have to die if they can have access to a clean needle, clean heroin, and they're an addict, and they admit, I'm an addict. I'm unable to quit at this moment, but I want to get, like, the people like in Portland that go into those clinics, a lot of them aren't even talking to the people. They're just getting their needles, they're getting their drugs, they're doing it. And yeah, they're not asking for treatment. But at the end of the day, that's someone's family that's alive because of that. And I think if that's all that comes out of it, I'd much rather have my friend back and know that he's alive and taken care of than keep demonizing this drug like he's the problem and not the addiction.
Man, I don't know about that one. I am completely against drugs. I'm not going to give somebody a drug. I'm not going to do that. Like, if a person has an issue with drugs, and I'm like, hey, well, here's another drug, or here's a clean version of the drug.
Right.
Like,
I don't think you're going to see people curious to go try heroin if that's legalized for a clinic. I think you're only going to see people that have a problem with it trying to get off of it. I don't think that's one that people really get into because it's available. I think it's a lot of peer pressure. I think you usually get into that kind of stuff because you have a friend or a partner that gets you into that. And yeah, right now their only option is go to the methadone clinic or keep using, and those aren't good options. Either one of those, like
or they can stop using, right?
Right. You can try to stop you. That heroin's. I from nicotine alone, I can tell you any addiction is hard to quit. So I can't imagine trying to quit something like heroin. Like, you need help.
I think it's I don't know if you're probably familiar with this. I think it's in Thailand. They have one of the the strictest drug facility. Philippines, okay, yeah. Like they will throw you into a room and like you'll just go through withdrawal until you just either you die or
Well, maybe it did Thailand because Philippines is where they were literally putting. They were saying like you can kill a drug dealer if you suspect them as a drug dealer. And they were just killing everybody. Like it was just a massacre.
Oh man,
Everyone was accusing everybody of being a drug
I kn-
dealer.
I know it's one of those countries that like their facilities for like the addicts, like they'll just throw you into a room and it's like you're either gonna
I
die
mean,
from the
that's better.
withdrawal
It's kind of
or
better than what we had. Well, you don't want them to die. That's a big problem.
yeah, I'm saying,
However,
but they isolate you from the drug. They don't give you
right.
anything.
So most drugs, you can like heroin, you can completely cold turkey withdraw from that, no problem. The big one that's hard to withdraw from would be alcohol. That one can kill you if you're too far in. You're starting to get the shakes, you have to do a regimen down or you'll die. But
Mm,
most other drugs, you can cold turkey. It's uncomfortable, but it's more than what we're doing. Right? We're doing right now is saying, oh, you're going to prison, and prison they have drugs there. Like they're not getting off the drugs in prison. They're coming in through the COs usually
yeah,
because they're wanting a little extra money. Like the whole system is a little problematic because of that. And I think a lot of it boils down to if you paid them more, they wouldn't need to get that secondary income.
yeah. I just think that people just need to be raised better. And
Right. But
you know, because poverty alone doesn't create a criminal.
I don't
Uh,
know that addiction is something that you can be raised to not have. I think that's something that's chemical. I mean, you can be raised to not try it in the first place, for sure. But
Absolutely.
people that fall off that wagon, especially a lot of the opiate dependencies in this country, were because of Purdue Pharma and OxyContin. They
Yeah,
said this is a 24-hour pill. Take it one a day. Turns out they needed two a day, and they needed three a day. And then all of a
yeah,
sudden they're like, "Oh, this is addictive. We're cutting everybody off." Now
right.
fentanyl's through the roof. Like it's not. You can't just get them to stop like that. They're not going to.
Yep.
Like they're
Um,
these are drugs that people rob their own mother to get money for. Like this is not a rational thing that they're doing. This isn't something
right.
they can mind over
Absolutely.
matter their way out of.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Mhm.
Let me bring up this comment. Adrian, poverty and lack of resources and opportunities does give way to a life of crime and violence. If a person is poor and struggling, they'll do whatever it takes to get out of that situation. Some slip through the cracks because their parents or someone willing to help nurtures them and protects them from gangs, prostitution, thieving, etc. The ones who don't have the support and opportunities end up being the drug dealers, the drug users, the pimps, the prostitutes, the thieves, you name it. These also, and then it goes off. So I'm not sure what else
Yeah,
was on
yeah.
there.
It
But
does come down to support and building these communities up to get like if whatever they're lacking in a community that has a lot of drug problems,
hmm
rather than being like something's wrong there, we need to throw them in. We need to go in there and be like, what is the cause? What's the root cause that's leading to this? And if we can do anything to fix that, that's going to have a much better effect in our society than just throwing them in prison.
yeah,
If we can keep them working in society and paying taxes, that's better for us than using our taxes to keep them in a cell.
but we want to make sure that the person that's out here in the free world is not, you
Right.
know,
Like as long as
harming
they're not,
people.
yeah, if they're harming other people, they got to go to jail. That's number
You
one.
gotta
If
go to
you
jail.
hurt
Yeah,
somebody else, you
I
lose your
look.
freedom.
I am not the one that they need to come cry to about. Oh my God, prison is so terrible. Like, well, look, man, you put yourself in the prison.
Right. Yeah. I
I don't sell
mean,
drugs, so
yeah, there are we have a reason for prison.
uh, Jay says so. Nick doesn't care what people do as far as drugs go, but thinks they need rehab. Fact is, we don't need a bunch of people using drugs in society. This guy's promoting drugs in order to help them get off. What the?
Okay, so no, I do not think I personally think the government shouldn't be throwing you in jail for using drugs. That doesn't mean I think you should be doing all the drugs. I do think we need to try to get off of drugs in this country. But I do think that throwing people in prison for that isn't a good idea. And I absolutely think we need better rehab to help them get off drugs. I'm not going to sit there and say you can't do drugs to someone that decides to.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, as long as they're getting everything done and they're not hurting anyone, fine, they can keep doing it. I don't care. But I do think they should have an option to get the rehab if they want it. Where right now, if you don't have pretty good medical insurance, you're not getting in there. Like, it's expensive. It shouldn't be. It should be an automatic, like, yes, we want to help you get back into society.
Okay, all right. Uh, we just I disagree on that one, but you
That's
know,
fine.
Yeah. So
We're not going to agree on
I,
most things.
yeah. I mean, now I will say some of what you're saying about like, I mean, of course, we're having rehab. I think rehab is needed. I'm for rehab, all right?
Yeah,
Whether it be in prison, whether it be a facility, that they are made to go to, maybe before they go to jail, or maybe if they go to a facility and then if they
yeah, like a
complete a
separate.
program, they
Yeah,
don't have to go to jail, something like that. I'm for that. I just
right.
don't like the allowing people just to do drugs and giving them the drug that they're addicted to and just making
Well,
it cleaner for them or whatever, safer environment or whatnot.
right. I think the reason for that, like in Seattle, is they were losing a lot of people. They were losing a lot of people: mothers, daughters, fathers, brothers. When you have a whole community lose at least someone to that, they're going to come together and be like, okay, is there any way to not have them die at least? And that's their solution: is that we can't stop them from doing the drugs, but we can at least make sure what they're doing is safe for them to do, and we can monitor them while they're here. It's not an ideal solution. The ideal would be they weren't on drugs in the first place, but letting them die is far worse, in my opinion, than
Mm-hmm.
trying. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, and we need to get rid of the program. But I think we've seen that it has saved lives, even if it hasn't saved people from being addicted.
Okay. All right. Let me bring up a couple more comments. Then we're gonna change the subject here. Lou Zer says this person's arguments are nonsense. The fact that the pro legalization people don't mention is that most dangerous drugs, such as cocaine and heroin, were once illegal.
This is true. 100% Bayer
Yep.
absolutely was
Yep.
legal. There's a reason we outlawed a lot of these drugs in the 70s under Nixon.
Mm-hmm.
This guy behind me. And a lot of that was as an attempt to try to save the morality, try to basically tell people how to live their lives. This is how we think you should be. And I would say it's just not working. I don't know that legalizing those again makes any sense, but I
Mm-hmm.
definitely don't think throwing people into prison for that. It's not like it's not like anyone woke up one day and like, I want to be a heroin addict or I want to be addicted to cocaine. It's something that happened over time. They got carried away and they need help.
Yeah, I think somebody,
So like,
I think somebody, they wake up and they're like, I want to try that, and then they try it, and then they get addicted as a result, and they're like, I didn't expect that to happen,
I
but
mean,
you did
it
it.
can, yeah, but at the same time, what now? We just
It's
let
like
them die?
a person
No.
that picks up a gun. They're like, I want to shoot this gun at this person, and then they do it, and they're like, oh, the person's dead. I didn't mean to do
Right,
that.
but shooting the gun, you're hurting someone else. Doing if I eat a drug, I'm only hurting myself.
No. I'm saying a person picks up a gun and they want to shoot it, and then it happens to hit somebody, and they're like, oh, the person died. It's like, well, you picked up a gun and randomly shot the gun.
Right? Yeah.
That's a result of what you when you shoot a gun
If you
randomly.
get on drugs and you hurt somebody, you should go to prison.
No. I'm
Like,
saying they're getting on drug because they tried the drug to begin with. It was illegal to begin with. It was a
right.
bad idea to begin with. They did it anyway.
Most likely, yeah. But
Yeah, that's what
you're
I'm
not gonna be
saying.
able to. We're not gonna be able to stop people from making bad decisions. Like that's never gonna
Right,
happen.
right. But as a result of their bad decision, now it's not my place as a taxpayer to take care of them. Right?
No, but would you want someone you cared about to get that kind of benefit if they were to fall into
I,
that?
if somebody I know got who's throwing crack or heroin or something, go figure that out.
What if it was
What am I
someone
gonna do
that
about that? I
broke their
can't do nothing.
leg and got
I
put
can't
on
help them.
oxycontin? You
Huh?
can't help them, but I don't see why using the taxes we already pay to take just a chunk of that for rehab would be a big deal if it means we're saving people that really shouldn't be dying. They should be getting off of drugs.
I mean, I don't think it's right to take somebody else's money. That like, if I'm telling you, I don't want my money to go toward this, right? And
Well, I don't
then,
want my money
and
going to
then,
war, but I don't have a choice. Like there are some things that
all right. But you're saying, but you want my money to go to this drug addicted person.
I
I don't
think
want that to happen. But you're telling me that I should give my money to the government for that case.
I don't think you should
You're
give
just
more
like the
money.
government,
I don't think you should give more money to the government. I think the government gets enough of our money. I think they are using it poorly and really
right?
bad at budgeting.
Right.
I think we have enough
But I'm
money
saying I
coming
don't
in.
want them to use my money for that reason. You're saying yes, you want them to have to use that
Well,
money, right?
why? Why do you not want them? Like, why? Why is helping someone get off of drugs or
Because
to?
because they made the
Not
decision to use the drug and it's illegal to do, and they did it anyway. And not only is it illegal, but it was a bad idea. I mean, people just know it's a bad idea to snort something up your
of
nose.
course, of course. Everyone
Like, you know
knows
what I'm saying?
drugs are bad.
So I don't have any sympathy for a person who walks out in front of traffic, gets hit by a vehicle, and then I'm supposed to go over there and figure out, find out, pick up all the body parts.
I mean, you have no
What?
basis. It's not your fault when someone gets cancer either. But do you think we should do everything to cure that?
Does the person, like, I mean, it's certain cancers now. Okay, if you're a smoker and you get
Right.
lung
Yeah.
cancer,
Sure.
I don't want to take
Well,
care of you. No, I
right.
don't.
But I'm talking about natural. Just
That's
eventually,
different.
everyone's gonna
That's
get
different.
like.
Some natural is different.
Like I mean, addiction's a natural thing too. It's not
It's
something
not
that.
natural when you put something into your body to get addicted to it.
Right. Again, the biggest problem with heroin right now is from Purdue. People that went to the doctor got prescribed these drugs and now can't get off of them.
Okay, but I mean that's something different than I'm talking about cocaine, heroin, meth.
It's an
So that's
opiate.
something totally different. That's an illicit drug.
Right, but they can't buy it. They don't make it anymore. They stopped making it to try to get people off, and they're buying heroin now. They need an opiate because they're withdrawing. They're addicted. Like, and it
Yeah.
wasn't anything they did. They followed their doctor's advice, and now they have an addiction. I think we should help them get off of that.
I disagree.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Jay said rehab, yes. Allowing drugs, no. I
That's
mean,
a fair
I agree.
compromise.
I agree. All right. So let's segue into like politics.
Okay.
So Donald Trump, 2024, Ron DeSantis, Joe Biden. Who you looking at being next president?
Those are some bad options, aren't they?
Joe Biden was the worst one.
Those are options. They're all too old. I really don't
Ron
think
DeSantis?
Ron DeSantis isn't too old. I think Ron DeSantis is too far right, personally. I think the using the government to tell people what to do isn't going to work across the country like it does in Florida. I don't think people want the government telling parents how they can parent their kids and who is allowed to get medical care. I don't think that's something people agree with, that the government should have a role in. You can have your own morals guiding that, but having the government tell you what your morals are, I think, is something that is fundamentally against what we are as a country.
So, do you think that? Let me ask you a question. Do you think that when are you a parent? Do you have any
I'm not
kids?
here. No.
Do you have any like nephew, niece, or
Oh yeah,
anything?
lots of nephews and nieces.
Okay,
Tons of nephews.
so let's say you're watching your nephew and niece, right?
Mhm.
Let's say y'all are going to a movie,
Okay.
and do you think that it's a better thing for you to tell your nieces and nephews that, hey, we're gonna be in a movie theater. I need you guys to be quiet and watch the movie. You can react to the movie if there's something funny. You can laugh. If it makes you cry, so be it. But don't go in there standing up, running up and down the aisle. Don't throw your popcorn at anybody. Is that right or wrong to do?
That's a pretty solid parenting move to be like follow the directions of how everyone else is supposed to be in the theater,
Right.
which
And
no
why?
one does anymore. By the way.
Right. Yeah.
Holy crap!
But
We're going to theater
why would
again.
that be? Why would that be okay?
Because you're in a society that has a certain order, and you want to fit in that society without pushing it too hard
Right.
and getting
So
kicked out. And the
right.
idea is
So
that we're watching this movie together. It's polite, and you're thinking of others in that situation.
right. And so when the government is telling you to let's morally make sure that we're not giving these children hormones to change their gender, that is you're causing problems, right? So
I,
they're
I
trying to tell you, hey, because you're not a good enough parent to do it for yourself, we'll tell you, hey, it's not
I
a good idea to give little
fundamentally
Timmy. It's not a good idea to give little Timmy at age 14 hormones to make him a little girl because he's a little boy and he can't be a little girl. There's nothing wrong with
so
that, right? It's boundaries, right? You just got done
I
talking about
think
boundaries.
anytime the government tells a parent how to parent, it's wrong. I don't think the government should be telling us what we can do with our kids.
Who's supposed to do it though? Who's supposed to do it? Somebody got to do it.
The parents. The parent. I think it's up to the parents. They're the ones that care for the kid, that take care of the kid. And you're talking about hormone therapy that is usually recommended by a doctor. And to even get on that, I have trans friends. They have to go through 3 separate psychological evaluations before they can even dress as the other gender. Hormones are a second step after that, and surgery is not even allowed until they're 18, regardless. The parents can say, go for it. They won't do it. And I think if that is what a doctor is recommending, I'm going to go with the doctor. If they say you need this cancer treatment, I'm going to go with the cancer treatment. They know what they're doing. At the same time,
You think so?
Yeah.
So you just okay. So let me get it straight.
Yeah.
So when it comes to the government, you don't trust anything they tell you to do because like they're the government.
It's not that I don't trust them. I don't think they have the authority to tell us what to do.
Okay, all right.
Between the parent and the child, and
Okay, all
using
right.
a doctor as an expert is something that a lot of people do. They do that for all kinds of medical decisions.
So you're saying if a doctor tells you how to parent your kid, then you listen to the doctor because they're the doctor?
It's not really telling you how to parent your kid. He's telling you what's going on with your kid and what a solution is. You don't have to take that. You can tell them like, hey, you got to wait till you're 18. They might not make it that long. But I don't think the government should come into people that decided to go one way or the other and tell them you did the wrong thing. That's none of their business. The kid, if he gets older and decides that they weren't really feeling that, they should have the right to sue their parents. But I think if the kid is really saying, this is who I am, I don't feel like, think about if you woke up tomorrow.
Hold on, man. I'm confused right now. Hold on a second. You said that it's okay for the parent to allow the kid to basically do whatever they want to do as a child. But in the movie theater, hey guys, I need you guys to do
It's
this
not
right
whatever they
here.
want.
But
It's
when it comes to their body, their body chemistry, you're saying the child can do whatever they want to do. Am I understanding
First
that
of
right?
all, I don't think any kid that's not trans wants to be trans. I disagree with that premise. I also don't think it's a choice to be gay. I've never had to think about what my sexuality is. I just knew I was into women since I was born, basically. And the whole point is that they're using a doctor's advice to take whether or not they want to. They're not letting them do whatever they want. This is a doctor talking about body dysmorphia, which is something that we are fine when bodybuilders become huge, even though that's not necessarily good for them. We're fine when women get breast implants or.
But those are adults. We're talking about children right now.
Yeah. Children aren't getting surgery. That's not happening. They might take hormones, but those are reversible. No child is getting surgery in this country unless they're cisgender. So if you're intersex,
Unless what?
Unless you're cisgender.
What does that mean? What's a sissy gender? What's that?
So if you're a man, born a man, and identify as a man, it's the opposite of trans. It's just a Latin term. Cis and trans are opposites. So when we're talking about trans people, we say cis to denote that we're talking about a biologically born male who identifies as a man, without having to say all
That's just a male.
whatever you want to say.
I mean, that's what it is. There's only male and
You can
female.
call
There's
it that.
nothing else
I
out
mean,
there.
Are
Are you a male or a female?
You can be intersex.
Are you a male or a female?
I'm a male. I identify as.
I'm a male too, right? So I mean, we are what we are, right?
Yeah.
So
I don't think my gender has anything to do with my sex. My sex is male. My gender.
They're the same thing.
I don't agree. I think gender is a spectrum. I mean, look at a gay guy. He's not the same. He's not acting the same way you do. He's not. They might have an accent. They might, like, if you talk about the most feminine and most masculine, you say these are the cutoffs.
Mm-hmm.
No one else can have this. You're going to exclude natural born men from the men equation, and you're going to include females that are naturally born in that equation. There's no real good way to differentiate the two. It's a spectrum. And the same with intersex, people that are born with both sets of reproductive organs. They're the ones getting surgery for gender affirming care when they're young. Because if you have a boy whose testicles didn't descend, they will do surgery to get that so they can keep their puberty going. If you have a female who,
but that has nothing to do with being trans, though. That has nothing to do with being trans, though.
You don't get surgery. Like you have to be 18 to get transgender surgery because they want to make sure you grow. They'll give you hormones in your teens.
What's the difference?
Hormones are reversible. You stop taking
What's the
hormones.
difference?
Right?
I mean, but a lot of times it's not though.
When is it not? Like it's
You're literally changing the body chemistry. What do you mean?
we're giving it hormones that it's not
It's
normal.
like it's like making a person addict to heroin, right? Meth or something,
Not
right?
quite.
Their body
So
chemistry changes, so like they can't just snap and be like, "Oh, I'm not on it no more," right? Because their body
it
chemistry
won't snap
changed,
back like that. No, it's once you
right?
stop. If you give a boy estrogen, so that he's not getting the testosterone to grow into a boy, the minute you stop that, even if he's 30, he's going to hit puberty right then and grow into the man. Like it's just you can't fight those hormones if you stop taking a supplement. They're giving them supplements that if they stop, they will. And maybe it'll take the same amount of years to get back, but they will get back. The reason they even
But why?
allow this in
So
the first place is because they know that if they don't get any kind of treatment,
what's
they're
going to
very
happen?
likely to kill themselves.
They will kill.
It's a
So okay,
huge
all right. So
suicide rate. And
thank
it's
you for
lack of
saying
support.
that. Thank you for saying that. So
Mhm.
you said that if a boy wants to be a girl, if they don't give him hormones to change it to a girl, he's going to kill himself.
He's likely to. That doesn't mean he will.
Why would he do that?
Because he's not being supported by his parents. He's not being seen for who he really is. He's not being heard in the society that this is something that he feels very strongly about.
So
He's
let me ask you.
completely ostracized. We
All
have
right.
there's
So let
200
me ask you a
laws
question.
right now
So,
against him.
so let me ask you a question. So if he said he wants to be a little tiger, are they supposed to say, "Oh, okay, little Timmy, you can be a little tiger now"? Are they gonna go give him fur and glue fur on his body, make him a tiger? Is that normal or no?
I mean, I don't think they would pass the 3 psychological exams that they are sane enough, like you have to do when you're trans. I think it's a different thing altogether. I
Hmm?
don't think someone that wants to be a tiger, which is an animal that is not in the same species, is the same as someone that just doesn't feel comfortable being a male and rather have longer hair and wear makeup or something.
But hold on. But let me understand something. What's a schizophrenic?
Because they're right, someone's that they might hear voices, see visions that aren't there.
Don't
Most of
don't
the time, they
don't don't
function in
don't some of
society.
them think that they're a different person?
No, that would be multiple personality disorder, I think.
Okay, with that. Okay, all right,
Pretty
let's go with
different.
that
Yeah.
then. So let's say you have a person that's let's say Timmy is a multiple personality person, right?
Hmm.
So are they allowed? Is little Timmy allowed to go by Jeffrey?
I mean, they probably would, whether you wanted them to or not, if they have multiple personalities.
No, I'm asking would the government support them doing that?
I'm not sure. It depends if that's their main identity that they were born as or not. It depends on, like, if you're
No, they
saying
were
their
they,
name
they,
is
they were
Timmy,
born as Timmy, and
then
then they
no,
said I'm Jeffrey.
you can't have more than one identity. You only get the one. You can change it.
Right. So how come can trans people bounce in and out?
They don't usually. They usually
Yes, they
transition,
do.
and that's it. How
They
do you mean?
do.
You mean like detransitioning?
No, people they
You mean like
a man named Christopher will uh dress
go
on the
by
weekend as
Christine?
Gloria.
So like a drag queen.
I'm saying I mean to me it's all I mean they're all playing dress up. So I mean yeah, they all play
Well,
dress up. But they
drag
call
queen is
themselves
literally
transgender
dress
though.
up. Uh,
But they all say transgender though. But I'm saying it's normal for the man to dress up as Gloria. It's fine. But when Timmy says he's Jeffrey, all of a sudden he's got multiple personality disorder. Why is that?
it's not multiple person. It would be body dysmorphia. He does not feel comfortable in his body. Think if you woke up tomorrow and you were a woman. Nothing you did, nothing changed, but you have female parts. You would be so uncomfortable for so long until you got back to being a man that it wouldn't even be funny. I would not want to wake up and not have the equipment I'm working with. I would feel very out of place. So I get that that can be something people think. And at the end of the day, it doesn't affect me at all. If it makes them happy and they get to enjoy their life more, why should I care what they're doing?
But yeah, I don't think you answered my question yet. I'm saying if Timmy identifies as Jeffrey, he has a multiple personality disorder, right? So he can't legally do that, correct?
No, multiple personality would he have multiple different personalities.
Right, and they're not gonna let him transition to a Jeffrey, are they?
if that becomes his main identity, I don't see why they wouldn't. We're not
If he's
talking
got multiple
about,
personality disorder, they're not gonna let him do that.
I don't think they're going to stop someone from
They're not gonna
changing
do
their
that.
name. You can change your name on your ID. You can change who you are.
But there are rules about that though. You can't just go change your
Yeah, the
name.
government wants you to have one social security card. They don't care if you're a
So
boy or a girl.
so my point is he has to go to counseling and everything, all this stuff, right? Because he has a multiple personality disorder. It's an issue. You agree or no?
Sure, yeah. I mean, multiple personality.
So
Yes.
how come if little Timmy wants to be Gloria, that's looked at as normal? So the
It's
man
not
changed the man
No one's saying
changed
it's
to a
normal.
man, and there's something wrong with that. But the man that changed into a woman is normal, and he can do that. And the government is supposed to just say,
Nobody's
"Okay, Timmy, go be Gloria and do whatever you want to do."
nobody's saying it's normal. It is body dysmorphia. At the end of the day, there
So
are less
why
than
are we allowing
100
it to happen then if it's something wrong with it? Because they're not, the LGBT are not saying there's something wrong with it. They're saying that's who they are.
because body dysmorphia isn't something you can cure. It's not something you can just take a pill and be done with. That's why you have bodybuilders get so big their heart gives out. They don't feel comfortable in their body. That's why you have plastic surgery is a huge industry. People don't like the way they are. You can't cure body dysmorphia. And if that means that there's only 150 kids across the country who are transgender currently that we know of. We're talking about
How many?
150, less than what you'd have in a high school that are trying to transition. That's who we're going after. It's not a huge issue.
Hold on. Say it again. How many?
150, about 150 student age transgender people in the country.
There's 150
Under 18,
transgender children.
about 150 under 18. Yes, it's less than 1% of 1% of the population. It is a very small number of people.
Okay,
And I
so
really don't see why it matters if another family decides that's best for them. It's not going to affect you. Your kids aren't going to see that and want to be transgender. That's not how that works.
how does it work?
It's the same way, like there's the same way your sexual orientation works. It's something you just naturally gravitate towards women or men. It's built in. It's part of your upbringing. It's
So
not. I don't think it's contagious at all. I don't think you can.
So you're saying that is something wrong with it, but because you can't change it, that just let them just let them go with it.
It's a
Is that what
disorder.
Is that what I hear you say?
It's a disorder that people have that we have always agreed that if they want to change the way they look, we don't give a shit. Like, if you're going to say that body dysmorphia is something that we shouldn't allow, we can't allow bodybuilding, we can't allow beauty pageants anymore, we can't allow plastic
I'm
surgery.
talking about a boy being a girl. Is what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about a bodybuilder.
It's
That's
the
an
same
adult.
thing.
I don't care nothing
It's
about
the
that.
same thing. It's the same thing. It's body dysmorphia. And again,
That's an adult. I'm talking about we're talking about a child right now.
So most kids, their treatment is, why don't you go by a girl's name if you're a little boy and you want to be a girl and dress as a girl. See how that goes for a few years. 9 times out of 10, the kid realizes real quick, oh, I'm not transgender. This is very uncomfortable. If that still isn't enough, then they think about hormones around like 14, 15, and surgery is not even until 18. What I'm saying is these kids, if you deny their parents the ability to get them this help, they're still going to get it at 18. But you're telling the parents that they can't make the decision to help their kid now because they're not old enough. And I just don't think the government should ever tell anyone how to parent. That'd be like them saying you can't take your kids to see Sound of Freedom. Like, they have no right to tell you what you do with your own children. And I also don't think there's any worry that your kids are going to see someone who's trans and think, oh, that's me, unless they're trans.
But the government can't do that. But you can tell kids that are not yours not to run up and down the aisle at the movie theater.
Kids that aren't yours, I wouldn't do that. I mean, you can.
You said you would do it earlier. I asked you.
No,
earlier,
I thought you talked about your kids. Like,
no, I said if you had. I said, do you have nieces and nephews? You said, yeah. I said, well, if y'all at the theater, what if you go in there and tell them, hey,
I'm watching
sit down, guys, watch the movie, don't run around. You say, yeah, sure, yeah, because but I'm keeping order. You said that, so those are not your kids, though.
They're my family.
They're not your kids, though.
In that scenario, I was under the impression I was the one watching them, so I would be the one.
Right. So the government is watching us. It's the same thing.
But the government can't overstep the parents' role. That would be like the government telling you can't name your kid this, you can't take them to church. Like there's all kinds of things the government could.
That's not the same.
Why not? Why is it different if the government telling you to do one thing but not
because taking them to church is not a harmful or not harmful thing. Changing their body and putting hormones into their body to be the opposite gender and sex, that's harming.
I would say there's a lot of harm going on in certain churches across the country. There is a lot of sexual abuse.
Yeah, but going to church in itself is not harming. Right. Putting a drug into your body is harming. Yes, it is. Are you? Come on now.
I mean, you gotta. It's like taking an antihistamine. It's gonna go away eventually. You have to keep taking it for it to work.
So have you taken hormones before? Have you taken hormones to be a female?
No. How about
you do that for about 6 months and see what happens?
I wouldn't be comfortable. I'm not transgender.
Why not?
Because I'm not transgender.
But it ain't gonna affect you though. So why don't you do it?
No, I mean I could. It's not.
Yeah. So why don't you do it? I'm saying why don't you do it? And then that way you
prove to me. Like what's
that way you can prove to me that it don't do nothing to your body because you say it don't affect you.
It does do things to your body, but it is reversible, is what I'm saying.
Okay, so why not do it for 6 months and then let it reverse itself after 6 months?
Because I have no desire to change who I am. I don't have that need.
But you're gonna come back to the same Nick you were before, right? So why don't you do it?
Because I want to stay Nick. Because I'm happy.
Yeah, because you don't want to take you on that road because you know what might happen. You might become Andretti or Angela or somebody.
I feel like if I were going to become Andretti or Angelo, I would have been there by now.
You might become Gloria.
I'm as close to gay as you can get and be completely into women. Like if there was
what was that? What do I mean? Hold on, say what?
Like I have a lot of gay friends. I like the culture. I completely understand them. I have no problem telling a guy if I think they're attractive. Like I'm strong enough in my sexuality to know I'm not going to sleep with him, but that's a good-looking guy, I have no problem with that.
That's gay.
It's as close to gay as you can be, but
that's gay.
Like, nah, I'm not into men.
Nah, that's gay, man. I ain't telling no man. I ain't gonna tell no man he looks good. I ain't never done that. All right, let's see. Let me check these comments. Nick is promoting the oft-told lie that if kids decide later on that they don't want to transition, they can revert to normal. This has been debunked numerous times. That's what I'm basically saying. Yeah, we
It's not been debunked. It is reversible.
Yeah, I mean, but you won't do it though. So I don't know. Abigail,
are you going to take medication?
Irreversible damage to documents that are okay. So social pressure has played on youth thinking they are transgender when they are not. Nick just makes things up out of thin air. So he gave some information there. Are you familiar with that person, Abigail Schreier?
I'm familiar enough to know where that's coming from. Yes, I've heard of the book. Again, less than 1% of 1% of trans people who are already less than 1% of 1% ever detransition. There's a very small number, and in those cases, you need to look at were the parents forcing them to think they were transgender, because the parent shouldn't be telling the kids what they are. The kid should be telling the parent.
What?
So if
dude, you are definitely not a parent, are you? I mean, I know you ain't a parent for real.
I'm saying if you're a parent, you shouldn't be putting into that kid's head that they're transgender. You shouldn't suggest that they're transgender to a kid. You should let them come up with that without putting it in their head. So if you see your son and he's playing with dolls, you shouldn't be like, "Oh, maybe you're a girl." I do think there are parents that are forcing their kids to be transgender.
Well, yeah, definitely, yeah.
And that is not how it works. The kid needs to be the one that comes to the dermatologist like, "Hey, I don't feel right. Something's wrong. Can we talk to a doctor?" You, as a parent, should never suggest any of that. They should be the ones that come to that conclusion.
That's okay. Let's go.
Most trans kids won't take hormones. Most of them will just dress the alternate sex. It's again a very small people that are recommended for hormones because of their mental health and their likelihood to hurt themselves. Most people are just dressing as a woman and acting as a woman under 18.
Mm-hmm.
Again, all of this has to be parental approved. It's not like the kid can go to the doctor and get this stuff without the parents. If you as a parent say not until you're 18, that's how it goes. That is absolutely how it goes. They can't get that without the parent, and that's how it should be. But I don't think the government should ever come in and tell you how to parent your kids. If you love them and you want to do what's best for them, they shouldn't tell you what you're doing is wrong. If you truly believe you're doing what's best for them and their
Yeah,
mental health.
but that's the opposite of love. If you're telling them that they could be a girl if they're a boy, or if they're a girl, they can be a boy.
Only
Like
if you don't love them. Only
that's
if you
not.
don't. Only if you're convinced that your kid needs to be how you're envisioning them rather than the person they want to become. Like I think you're in the business of having kids for the wrong reason. I think the whole point is to support that person and let them become who they're going to become, regardless of their decisions. I mean, yeah, you're not going to support their behavior if they go out and murder somebody, but you're still going to love them and give them support of a parent while they're behind bars. That's part of being a parent, I would imagine. That's how my parents treat me. They're always going to support me. Like if that's why I'm saying like I'm as close to gay, because my parents would have never had any issues if I had come out as gay or transgender. They would have been behind me 100%. I have a great relationship with my parents. They value me for me as a person over that I'm some kind of clone of them or some kind of pass on. Like I'm my own guy, and they like that. They've always been supportive of that, and I feel very, very fortunate to have parents like that. And that's the kind of parent I would want to be.
You could be. I
I'd
mean,
want them to still talk to me after they turn 18. And I feel like if they really believe they're transgender and you push back on that, you're going to ruin that relationship.
No, it's
You don't
like
have to let them take hormones.
it's like for example, let's say a
Do
child.
you know any trans people personally?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Why you ask?
I'm curious.
Yeah, I do. Uh huh.
Yeah. Like, do you think that they're any less valid as people? Do you,
Yeah, they're less
it,
valid. Yeah, they're less valid because
how
um,
does it affect you
they,
though in your day to day? Like how does them being trans affect your life?
I'm
I
glad
guess
you
is
asked
my,
that. I'm glad you
that's
asked that.
always been my question because
Yeah,
I don't see how it affects anyone.
I'm glad you asked that because God has created the world and created us to have boundaries, right? Like
Right, and that's your
you
religion.
recognize boundaries because earlier you mentioned about if you went to the movie with your nieces and nephews,
Right.
you would tell them, "Hey guys, don't run up and
I've
down the
always
aisles.
I've always gone the way.
We need order, right? So
Right.
God is our he's our big daddy or whatever, right? He's telling us
For you.
we need order, right? No, he's telling
That's
all
the
of
thing.
us. He created all of us.
He right,
So
but this is your religion, and in your religion, no one's going to force you to have trans kids if it's against your religion. No one's going to
well,
force you to acknowledge trans people.
I'm asking you a question. I'm gonna get to your answer your question, but I'm telling you this because this is why I know why it's an issue to have these people in society. So God
How
creates it
does
to
that?
have boundaries, right? And so there's
Okay, so you
right and
need
there's
boundaries,
wrong. There's right and wrong, right? Like right and wrong. Because if you go to
right?
work
But I also
and
know free
if you
will.
hold on a second, if you go to work and they're telling you, Nick, we need you to do this right here, and then you say, oh, you know what? I don't feel like doing that right there. Man. I'm gonna do what I want to do, and you go to do what you want to do. What's gonna happen? You're gonna probably get reprimanded. Who knows? Maybe
Right,
fired, right? So there's boundaries. There's is natural boundaries.
right.
So in
But how does that
society,
affect our
we have us,
Christianity?
right? I'm a male sitting here. You're a male sitting there. Okay, we know this. There's only male and female. Okay, there's no spectrum of
There's
anything in
intersex.
between, right? There's no alien type stuff going on. It's
Have
just a
you heard
male
of
and female.
hermaphrodite? Have you heard
There,
the term hermaphrodite or intersex?
there's a but they still have male and female. Like there's no other.
Right, but they're
There's nothing
not.
else, right?
They have both, so they don't have to
Hermaphrodites
be
are
one
male
or
and
the
female
other.
parts, right?
But they can't be. They're not all male. They're not all female. There's something else. They're in between.
And once again, that's 0.00001% of 1%. Like
There are
so
actually more intersex
that's
people than
like
trans
saying
people.
somebody that has 6 fingers on one hand. Is that
Right.
normal? No. Does it happen?
There
Sure.
there are more intersex people born naturally in this country than there are transgender people today.
Yeah. And so what I'm saying is those they have male part and female part. There is nothing else they can be, right? It's only male and female. That's it. Is there any
But
other
if
gender
you
out
have
there that you
both,
know of?
if you have both, are you male or female? How would you
But
describe
I'm
yourself?
saying, but like you listen, to what I'm saying.
There isn't like
Let's say they have
genitals.
let's say they
That's
have
like
both. Let's say they have both.
yeah,
They have both of what?
both sex organs.
Of what? What sex?
Well, yeah, there's male and female sex organs.
Thank you.
But there's
Thank you.
there isn't
Right.
a third.
There's nothing
There's
else,
not a
right?
third genital. There's not a third.
Right.
genital.
So there is no spectrum.
That's not what they're.
There
trying
is
to
no
do.
there is no spectrum because there's only male and female. You just said that.
So everyone has the same size penis.
What does that got to do with being a male and a female?
You're saying there's no spectrum, so then everyone has the exact same pair of genitals.
There's only two genders, male and female. You just said that, right? You
But
just said
there are
that.
people that have micro penises.
Don't try to run on it. Don't try to run around this. There's only even if they have a micro penis or a mandingo, it doesn't matter. It's still a male.
Sexes, biological, even in biology, they count 3 sexes because they do count intersex as a separate sex. But in gender,
But they have
gender
male and female parts, right? You just said that, right? You just said that a little while ago. Now you're trying to like run away.
Because that's sex. That's the biology of it. The gender is something we made up.
But hold on. But the gender is based on what?
The gender is based on what we thought traditional roles for females and males should be.
It's based on male and female, right? Because that's the only sex, right?
It's based on the way society thinks you should be in that. But again, when you see a masculine woman, do you think, oh, that's a man? Because she doesn't fit femininity?
We're not. You're running away because you asked me earlier to answer you why is transgender people an issue in society. I was trying to answer the question, and then we're trying to get off on a tangent. So
I'm not trying to do that. I'm sorry.
Okay, all right. So let me go back. So God created male and female. You just said that. Okay, I asked you earlier. I said, so what parts do the intersex people have? And you said male and female. So we agree.
Right.
There's only two genders. Only two sexes. Only two genders. That's it. There's no spectrum. So because there's male and female, God created it to be this way. There should be a man and woman. That's how you make babies. You can't make babies with 2 men or 2 women. Can't do it. Right?
You are aware.
Follow the science. You can't do it. Follow the science. It's science. It's
right?
biology, right? It's natural. It's basic biology. We all learn this. It takes a man and a woman. So when I have children and I'm raising them to understand, hey, this is a little boy, this is a little girl, and then they see a boy walking down the street that's got breast, long hair, and high heels on, but he's clearly a male. They're gonna be like, I know you said that there's, that you're a man, daddy, and that's a woman. My mommy's a woman. What is that? He looks like a man, but he's dressed like a woman. They get confused. They get confused.
Okay. How old were you when you saw RuPaul for the first time?
RuPaul? I don't remember, man. That was maybe a teenager.
Probably, 7 or 8. You know what I thought? Look at this woman. I never thought that was a guy until later.
Man, you a little different, man. You a little different, buddy.
Like, if you're a kid and you see someone that dresses as a woman, you're just that's a weird looking woman. But I don't think, and I think the biggest thing, like, it's the same thing with the gay. How am I going to explain to my kids someone's gay? This is your Uncle Bob and your Uncle Dave. They love each other like your mommy and daddy do. I think a kid's going to be like, oh, okay. They don't think they're going to give a shit. I really don't. I also don't think it's going to make them become trans. I do not think seeing a trans person is going to make someone be like, I want that, if they're not already there.
I disagree with that because I know so many people that because they had an auntie or an uncle or a brother or their parent may have later on changed over and said, hey, I'm homosexual or whatever, right?
Okay. Because
of that, you do believe that adults influence children, right? Or no?
To an extent. I don't think you can influence someone's sexual orientation because I don't think that's a choice.
So if you're an adult, what can you influence on a child then, aside from
you
sexual
can influence
orientation?
Values and morals. You can influence.
Like what? Give me examples.
Like for you have this idea that in your religion, it's man and woman, nothing else like that. You can absolutely influence your kids to believe that. There's nothing there. Now, they could go out on their own and decide something different as they get older.
Right, but I can influence that?
Yeah. I don't think you could influence your daughter to become gay if you tried. I don't think there's...
So hold on a second. So you say I can influence them to do what?
They're your kids. You can parent them like you want to parent.
You said I can influence them to do what, though?
You can influence them to believe that it's male and female. Like, that's something you have the
right
as a parent to do. Yeah.
Okay, but I can't do what?
Can't do what now?
You said I could influence them to believe about male and female. You said I couldn't influence them to be what?
I don't think you could influence them to be gay if you tried.
Why is that?
Because I don't think just telling somebody to be gay is enough to make them gay. I think that's something that's naturally occurring in them. That is, I don't think it's sexual. Like, to me, the whole premise of the idea of choosing to be gay is weird because I've never once chosen to be straight. It comes naturally. Ever since I saw women, I knew I liked women. I've never thought about, do I like men? Like, no, it's just not something for me. I've never had to fight that. But when someone says you're choosing to be gay, it makes me think, do you have to choose every day to be straight? Because I sure don't. That's just who I am, you know? Like, it's not something I have to think about. I'm straight when I wake up.
So hold on a second. So are you saying that gay people are born to be gay? All of them,
Absolutely.
or all of them?
I don't know about all of them, but I would say the majority of them, yes.
So not all of them, though, right?
I mean, I'm sure there's at least one example we could find where someone was
It's more than
wrongly
one.
thinking.
It's more than one. But
Yeah,
let's
but
let's
it's
say
still a
for the
tiny
sake of
percentage.
for the sake of your argument, it's a bad argument. But for the sake of it, there's one out
Yeah.
there, right? Out of all these millions of
Yeah.
people, there's only one. But
I mean, I'm sure there's a bunch of them, but it's still an insignificant amount of the overall community. That it's
okay.
an
So
anomaly rather
all
than
right. So
the
let's
rule.
say there's that one out there. So that one, how did they become gay? If they weren't born that way, how did they become that?
Peer pressure, most likely. They probably had a gay friend.
What you mean they were influenced by somebody else?
I mean, are they staying gay? No, they've
What?
decided not to be. Like most likely a person that thinks they're gay that isn't gay was probably molested. Let's think about it. It's
Ooh,
probably
no. Now we're going down. Now we're talking about the real. Okay.
because we're talking about someone who's confused with their own sexual
Oh,
orientation that isn't natural.
you
I'm not
waking
saying
up, buddy. You are
molestation
waking
may.
up, buddy. I mean,
No,
bro,
I'm
you
not.
you are
I'm
getting
not
you are getting
suggesting.
red pill or gold pill right now,
No, I am
in
not.
real time.
I'm not in one instance suggesting that molestation leads to being gay. I'm saying if you're
What you just
confused with
say?
your orientation, it's probably because you had a very disturbed view of what sex is by someone who was abusing you.
Right,
If
and
you
it
weren't
influ- and it, and
sure what
it, and
you
it
are,
influenced you to do something that's not natural.
it
Correct?
it broke you. It broke you in a way to do something that you don't feel naturally doing. It doesn't mean that being gay is not natural. It means whatever. Say if you were going to be gay, and now you're straight because you were molested by a straight person. It's still something that broke you and it's a trauma there. I don't think that has anything to do with the natural order. Because I got to tell you, I have a lot of gay friends and they tried as hard as they could to be straight and live in society as a straight man, and it just did not work for them.
Yeah, it's because that demonic spirit within them wants them to do
I
what
think
is
this
not natural. That's
society.
what that is. It's not that. I mean, yeah, in their mind they
So
know
you do
I'm
you?
not doing something right, but that
I'm
spirit in
curious.
them is pushing them to do this.
So you have the
That's what
spirit in you
happens.
that's pushing you to do that on a daily basis, is what you're telling me.
So what? Say that again.
That you have a spirit in you that has pushed you to make those decisions that you fought against.
Like what? What are you talking about?
I have not, because like you're
I'm
telling
not
me that
gay.
there's right, but you're telling me there's an evil spirit that they're not gay either. That's an evil spirit telling them to be. I don't have that
Yeah,
type.
yeah. What I'm
I
saying
don't
is,
like. I've never
what
heard
I'm saying
anyone.
is, nobody is born to be gay. We're all born to be male, female, and be straight to go with opposite gender, opposite sex.
That
That's
is
what we're
a
born to do.
that is a
Now,
quite outdated
people
take.
do
I
people veer off of the
let you
path
have it.
because they are like you said earlier. That's exactly right. The majority of these
Why
individuals that's
would you
gay or
choose to
trans,
be?
they are molested at a young age. There's something that somebody does something to them, and it
Trans people
warps
are
their
statistically more
mind, and
molested at a young age.
it breaks their spirit, and so they grow up. They're conflicted, which
Straight
is
kids are
why which is
molested
why
more
which is
often
why some
than
of the
gay kids
highest
are.
rates of suicide is in the trans community because they are conflicted people within themselves. Had nothing to do
I
with
think
anybody
it's
else.
more they have
They're
no
conflicted.
support from anybody. They have government passing laws that make them illegal to exist as they are. I mean, I think that would, if they said you couldn't have a beer
I
in
don't
the
say it.
bar,
The government has legislation that protects them specifically. What do you mean? What are you talking about?
No, there are 200 bills saying that they can't be themselves, that if their parents try to help them get health care to be themselves, they will lose their parents, that they are
That's not
not
being themselves.
born.
That's being somebody else.
No, that's
They're
them being themselves. Those are who
It's
they
Timmy
are.
trying to be Gloria. That's not the same
Because
person.
Timmy is Gloria and always has been. That's just
No, he
how
was
it is.
born Timmy. Was he not born Timmy? Who was he born as?
It doesn't matter who was born. He didn't get a say in it till he got to a certain age.
But I asked you earlier. I asked you earlier if a little
You
boy
were
wants to
talking
be a
about
tiger. You said he can't be a tiger, but he be Gloria.
because
Make that. You're not making sense right now, man.
Why would you want someone to be a tiger in this society? Being a woman,
Because they
is
wanted
not-
to. I didn't say that. I said they want to be a tiger.
Right, but it doesn't affect your life the same way that changing from a man to woman does. Like changing from a tiger, that's an animal that can't function.
Yeah. So why can't they do that though? They want to be a tiger. They want to be called tiger.
It's not even the same species. It's not even the same.
What difference does it make? That's what they want to be.
It's a non-starter. Like
How's it a
it's
non-starter? That's what they want to
It's
be.
false equivalency.
No, it's not. That's what they want to be.
They want
That's
to
who
be
they
a
are.
tiger,
Yeah, that's who they are. They said that's who they really are. They want to be a tiger.
but that doesn't exist. Like name somebody that wants to be a tiger. That's not a thing that
There's a guy that literally changed into
Dressed
a
like a
lizard.
dog?
He's a lizard.
a lizard man. Yeah, but that's body dysmorphia.
Oh my god! Oh
That
my!
should be illegal.
Did I just give you somebody? It's a great example.
Okay, so if that's what you're talking about, I don't give a shit if he looks like a lizard. Why would I care if that guy gets a lizard tattoo?
So I'm asking you. So I said,
So then,
if
yes,
a little
people
boy,
can
if
be
a little
known as
8-year-old boy said he wants to be known as Tiger, he wants to glue fur, orange and black fur on him to look like a tiger. Are you gonna tell him no?
Yeah, because the doctor's going to tell him no. Like that's not a known and widely accepted medical treatment for that condition.
Was
hormone therapy
was being trans a widely accepted thing before?
Before 2018, no one gave a crap about it. Like, they've been
Oh
around
wow!
forever.
So it changed right over time, right?
It changed because abortion was outlawed, or basically
We ain't talking about abortion. We talking about being trans.
Right. They needed another target. They needed someone else to use fear against their voting base to get them to vote for them. So they went after trans people because they're trying to take apart the LGBT. Trans people, there was a Love Boat episode with a transgender person. Like this has been around. Miss Doubtfire, all of this stuff has been part of our culture forever.
But it was a joke though. It was a joke. It wasn't like serious.
Not in the Love Boat episode. That was serious. That was the whole episode.
Mrs. Doubtfire was a joke.
Mrs. Doubtfire is more drag too, which is a difference. Drag is a gay man dressing as a woman.
But that's neither here nor there. I'm talking about the trans, the way the trans is being accepted now. It wasn't accepted this way before, right? You just said it wasn't accepted.
I don't think they're being accepted. I think they were accepted before, and now they're no longer accepted.
Accepted when?
I don't remember anyone having any trouble with trans. They've been around forever, just as long as we have. I haven't seen anybody complain about trans people up until 2018, when all of a sudden there's this huge.
Are you familiar with Sodom and Gomorrah?
I'm familiar with the story. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, it's a real place, right? Those are real places, right? Are you saying that make believe?
I mean, that's debatable, but they're based off of real areas.
So I mean,
yeah.
They're real areas, right?
It's a story in the Bible. They can't confirm where Sodom and Gomorrah is, but they do have an idea that it was in a certain area in the Middle East. They can't pin it.
So is Israel a real place or no?
Israel is a country that we have designated.
What about Egypt?
Egypt is a country we have designated. Yeah.
What about Ethiopia?
Same. Has borders, has a government.
Right. So all these are in the Bible. So those are real places, right?
Well, not because they're in the Bible. They're real places because we can see them. We can go to them. There's a history written about them. Sodom and Gomorrah doesn't really have a history telling us where that's located.
Are you sure?
Yeah. Sodom and Gomorrah. I mean, we have a good idea of the general idea of where that would be, but there isn't like it's this location, this latitude and longitude. We don't have that.
Interesting. What happened in Sodom and Gomorrah?
Sodom and Gomorrah was turned to salt because they refused to let the men rape the women.
What happened in Sodom and Gomorrah?
They
What did
were.
God
It
what did
was
God say?
destroyed. He destroyed it. He said,
What did God say?
I don't remember the quote, but I know he destroyed it.
Okay, but why did he destroy it though? What did he say?
He destroyed it because the men were raping other men to dominate them.
Mm-hmm.
And he found that to be wrong. It wasn't because
Mm-hmm.
they were gay, it's because they were using rape as a tool.
No, it's because it was men sleeping with men. That's why it was. And not only that, but
So you think
you had
so
men
by
with
that logic,
men, you had
so is
women
he
with
fine with
women,
the rape?
you had men want to be women want to be men. You had all kinds of stuff going on. And as a result, he told them to stop living out these
Right.
lifestyles.
And
They
this is your
refused,
religion.
and
I
so
respect
it got
that
wiped
you
out.
I respect that you believe this wholeheartedly. This is your religion. But just put yourself into the perspective, what if Muslims were the majority and we were trying to make the country a Muslim country? Like you can believe what you want, but the minute you tell other people they have to believe that, that's against the Constitution in my view.
I didn't tell them they had to believe that they had to be a Christian. I just said be a male that you were born as. That's not being a religion.
Right, but I mean, Native American
You're
religion,
convoluting two different things.
I could argue Native American religions had plenty of transgender people in them known as deities. They were considered holier for some reason,
And it,
whatever reason they decided, that was just part of Native American culture. Now, if that culture became the nationwide culture, then transgender people would be forced on you. I don't think that should happen either. I think you're allowed to believe what you want to believe, but the minute you try to take rights that are granted from the government because it's not in the Bible, that's not the government's job to be the Bible. That's your churches. That's why we have free will. That's why you'll be judged separately from them. Like, it doesn't matter what they're doing to your life. You are
well,
still
we don't have free will. That's not a thing.
okay. Well, either way, it doesn't affect you. If you believe that what you're doing will get you into heaven, you're going to heaven regardless of someone being transgender. And telling the government to tell anyone what to do is just not what America is. Now, if you want to talk about is that the right thing to do as a Christian, you have a good argument that is very much not what Christianity preaches. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about
Yeah,
the federal government.
and what's crazy is not even Christianity because there's many religions that say the same thing.
Right. There's a ton of religions.
But for some reason we get like just
Well,
ostracized
Muslims
about it.
believe that.
I know,
Jews
right?
believe that, but Native
But
Americans
no,
don't.
but people
Buddhists
don't want to
don't.
tell the Muslims that though. They don't want to tell the Muslims you can't believe that. But if Christians, they'll tell us you can't believe that.
I mean, Muslims can believe whatever they want, just like Christians can. You just can't tell
Not
other
we can't do
people
that because
to live by that.
we get told that we're bigots. They don't call Muslims that.
Yeah, they do. If they're being bigoted, they absolutely. I will call a Muslim
Name
bigot
me
if they're being bigoted.
name me any celebrity. Name me a politician that came out and said that called Muslims bigots.
They called Muslims big. A lot of people called Dave
Yeah,
Chappelle a bigot after his jokes, and he's Muslim.
I'm talking about. No, I'm not talking about the Nation of Islam people. I'm talking about real Muslims.
I mean, I see a
I
lot of
mean,
people call
name
them
me somebody.
bigoted. Saudi
I'll wait.
Arabia,
Look it up right now. Look it up right now.
we called
I want
Saudi
you.
Arabia misogynist for
I
years.
want you to give me a celebrity or a politician that has openly said Muslims are bigots like they do with Christians.
They
I'll
don't do
wait.
it with Christians. They
They
don't.
do.
It's not
Yes, they
Christians.
do. Yes, they do. They do it on the news every
It has
day.
nothing to do with being Christian that they're calling you a bigot. That's not part of Christian. Jesus told you to love everybody, right? Like they're all God's children. Judge lest you be judged. Judge not lest you be judged.
No, no,
This
man,
is Jesus's
you gotta
word.
read that. You gotta read that Bible more, man.
Those are Jesus's words. Now we could go into the Old Testament and find things that back up what you're saying, but
It's
Jesus's
in the New
specific
Testament too,
word
buddy. It's in the New
is
Testament too,
that
man. Men shouldn't sleep
do
with
not
men.
throw a stone.
Women with women. No trans. It's all the same. The New Testament,
There's
Old Testament
no
is the
mention
same
of
thing.
transgender
It's
people
just
in the
different
Bible.
books. It's the same
There
book
is
though. It's like
absolutely no mention of transgender in the Bible. There are one mention of a man shall not sleep with another man as he does a woman that was mistranslated from a man shall not sleep with a child as he does a woman, which makes a very big difference when you get the
not
correct
really, not
translation
really,
from
because
that.
if a man sleep with a man, he'll sleep with anything.
I mean, I would argue I would have a much bigger problem with a man sleeping with a child over a man sleeping with another man.
I have an issue with both of them because they're both hideous. and repulsive and
It
disgusting.
might be repulsive to you, but one of them's a crime, and one of them is hurting someone that cannot make that
They're
decision.
both a crime because there's a reason why HIV is so prominent in gay people, gay men.
Because blood and feces can mix to create that more often.
Yeah,
The
it's
way
probably not
they
a good
have sex.
idea, huh?
Well, I mean, a lot of straight guys like anal too. That can cause it
Amazing.
just as bad. So,
That's
I
incredible.
am gonna have to wrap up before too long. I got about 5 minutes.
All right,
I'm
man.
willing to come back and talk more. This has been a lot of fun. I do
For
think this is
sure.
important. I think the more we can get to understand, because I don't want you to agree with me. The whole goal isn't to get you to agree, but if you can understand why I think the way I do and that it's coming from a good place, even
Hmm.
if you think it's misinformed, that's the goal. Because I think all of us really do believe we have the right idea and the best interests for the
Yep.
country in our hearts. And as long as we remember that, I do think we can actually work together to make the world better.
All right, man. I appreciate you, man.
Anytime.
You
I'm
you
glad
you
to
hung
be
in there,
here.
man. We did about 2 hours exactly, man.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm down to do it again if you want me back, but we'll see what your audience thinks.
For sure, man. I think people appreciated it.
All right.
You do Andrew. Here's you do Andrew. Very good,
Hey
guys.
Andrew, how's it going, man?
Yep, yep.
Pretty civil. We kept it civil. Hopefully,
Yeah,
hopefully we didn't get people too heated.
yeah, man. I mean,
Yeah,
it's gonna be a little bit, but I think it was good
yeah,
though. Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
it was
We weren't
good.
going to agree on everything. We knew that, but
That's
we
right.
weren't yelling, so that was the good part.
That's right. There you go. All right, man. Well, hey, you have a good one, man. I'll
I will.
talk to you soon.
Yeah, you have a good one.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see here. I want to go through some of these comments. Adrian, Proverbs 22:6. Proverbs 22:6. I'm thinking you was somebody. That probably had something to do with the kids. Let me see. I'm thinking that had to do with the kids. When we're talking about the kids being trans and stuff. Proverbs 22:6. Oh yeah, train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. You got to raise these kids, man, to be godly. To do the right thing. Yeah, absolutely. Nick done hit that vape too hard. What's in that vape? Oh man, you wild, man. Adrian, wild. Oh snap. Oh man, my man Adrian. Let's see here. Loser. Shout out to Loser, man. Thank you for I don't know if you're male or female. I'm not going to assume, but thank you for the comments and thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you. There are people who have sex with children, animals, plants, and even vehicles. That's a fact. Is Nick suggesting they were born this way? Humans are designed to be heterosexual. Anything else is disordered. Absolutely. Absolutely. Man, so I want to thank Jay, Adrian, Lou, Andrew, uh, for your comments. I appreciate it, and also chasing them. Thank you, all of you guys for guys and gals, and Kitty. I miss Kitty. Hold on a second. I missed you. I'm sorry, Kitty. I missed your own comment. Gun shows in Montgomery allow some vendors that do not have to conduct background checks. I suggested that be stopped over a year ago. Yes, that's an interesting thing about the whole gun show thing, but I don't like gun control. I don't like when you start messing with guns because what happens is one law leads to another law leads to another law, and then before you know it, the law-abiding citizens are left defenseless while all the criminals have all the weapons, right? And they don't mind going to jail, right? But if you're like me, you you want to be within the law so you don't go to jail. And so, if the government's telling you to not have a gun, a lot of people are gonna not have a gun. It's just the way it is, right? It's like in 2020 they told people go get vaccinated, to go, wear a mask everywhere you go and all that stuff, and people just did it, right? They didn't even think twice about it. They just went and did it. And so, You know, a lot of people regret it after the fact, but they did it anyway because the government said so. And I just don't like the government saying I can't arm myself. And I'm not gonna comply with that anyway. But I want to share something real quick. My youngest daughter is cheerleading. We are doing a fundraiser right now. If it's on your heart to give, um, $5, 10, whatever it is, you can inbox me and let me know, and we can do Cash App or however. But we're trying to fundraise to get uh, her team all the equipment and everything, and for this cheerleading. So I think this be something that she probably can build on, and as she gets older, she's very young right now. So it's her first year doing it. She's super excited about it, and we're just trying to make it the best for her. So if you would like to give toward that, I would greatly appreciate that. Like I said, inbox me and we can go from there. Um, what do y'all think about that conversation? I mean, I think it went pretty good. I mean, considering, I mean, there was a few things that we did agree on. There was plenty that we didn't agree on, right? We talked about the gun control thing. We kind of agreed on certain things, but then certain things we didn't. Like red flag laws and all that. I don't like any of that. Um, the drugs, I think that what happens is I asked him if he ever had, if he had been around black people very much, right? Because a lot of times people who haven't really experienced certain cultures or certain other individuals that live differently from them, they haven't been around it, so they don't understand the inner workings of what those people believe and why they believe it and why they do certain things that they do, right? And I'm telling him that, well, like in certain areas, like they do, they commit crime at a high rate, or uh drugs is a different level, like it's a different type of thing. And maybe what he's accustomed to, everybody may smoke a little weed or they may do whatever, but they're not committing violence against each other, right? Because it's just a different culture. And oftentimes people on that side that don't understand the other side would try to say, oh, they'll try to come over there and play, do like this guilt thing where, oh, well, it's because they're poor, or it's because they have lack of education, and all. They try to give all these excuses of why those individuals can't do better for themselves, right? Rather than understanding the culture is they uplift criminality, they uplift lack of education, they uplift being ignorant and ratchet, right? That's what the people who are the more ratchet people, they are the more prominent people in that subculture, right? And the greater culture of the black society over there, they look down on that wretchedness, but they're not going to speak about it to those people because they know that there may be immediate violence as a result of speaking to them, telling them they're not doing the correct thing. But this guy over here, like a Nick, he's not going to understand that dynamic. He don't get that. He just thinks they're all over there are decent people, and the ones that are not decent, well, they're if you just do these few things right here, they'll be better. It's not the case, buddy. And I'm trying to get him to understand that, but that's what you run into, right? Because it's people that grow up in this. Like I grew up in this type of culture, so I understand it, all right, way better. And so I was trying to, get to tell him. It's funny because when you talk to people like this, you try to tell them, hey, we should do this, this, and this. This would be what would really help. And they're like, oh, I mean, that sounds good, but and it's like, buddy, you don't. How would you know? You don't. You have no idea what's going on over here. Like you don't know. So I'm telling you, this is what's needed, and you're like, I think that they should just give them jobs and all that. That's not gonna help, buddy. That's what it gets. It's like funny watching people try to tell people about people in the ghetto how to help them, and they have no idea about the ghetto. Never been to the ghetto. They never interacted with these individuals, but they're telling them what they need. It's the craziest thing. Uh, let's see here. Adrian, I think it was a good conversation. It's always good to hear different perspectives. With that being said, the conversation about black people is a huge conversation that I don't think anyone is ready to have. And you need more than 2 hours to talk about it and still not touch the surface. It's deeper than we think. Yeah, man, I agree. I do agree with that. You know, I don't really like the whole race thing, but because at the end of the day, we're all human race. We're all just humans. But there's like different subcultures within who we are. And so you have some individuals that are so-called white people that fit into this subculture of what normal people would say the black culture is, right? Because they grew up in that. So they'll understand the inner workings of that community. And then you have some of these so-called black individuals that grow up over here in the middle class area with more so-called white people, and they grow up in that culture, so they understand the inner workings of that society. Okay, but what happens is you have people on the side where they're in the middle class or middle class, upper echelon. They have no idea what's going on the other side. But the people on the other side that's there living there are saying, "Hey, we need this right here," and they're like, "Nah, I mean, I think y'all just need jobs. I think y'all just need better education. If maybe if I give you a scholarship, that'll make you feel better. Or that'll make you be more productive." It's like, no, we need something that will help us have more dads in the home. We need our mothers in the home. We need structure. We need discipline. We don't need y'all to kowtow to us and make us feel better with community centers and stuff like that. Like, that's not going to help. We've been doing that for 40 years. It hadn't helped. So, but people on the side of Nick, they don't know. They're the ones creating these policies, and they're the ones talking about we're gonna just build this and build that and give them that, and that'll do it. Hadn't worked for the last 40 years. So, yeah, man, the whole race thing, man, is something that's it's a phenomenon. It's a phenomenon, man. For some reason, there is no other culture. I've said this over and over again. Look around, watch TV. Y'all tell me, go on YouTube. Find me, go on YouTube and just type in fight videos, right? In like urban hood videos, right? And you'll see where there's multiple black people attacking one black person. It'd be like 8 black people jumping on one black person, right? You'll find a million videos like that. You'll be hard pressed to find as many videos of a group of 8, 10 white people jumping on one white person. It just normally doesn't happen. It's, I mean, people want to say, well, it's not it's not racial, but it's like, yeah, it's not racial, but it's culture. The culture of the black people is like, man, violent. They want to outnumber you and they want to hurt you. The white people are looking at it like, look, man, I mean, it really we ain't got time for that. I got to go to work in the morning. Like, I ain't got time to be over here trying to fight and have black eyes and all that type of stuff, or be arrested and all that. I ain't got time for that. It's like a different culture. If you look at Hispanics, Asians, the same thing. Find me a bunch of videos of a group of Asian people jumping on one Asian person. Like, you just don't see that normally. If you go to the mall, you're not going to see that. I don't care if you're in Chinatown, in New York City, or LA, or San Francisco. Go to Asia Town or Chinatown, whatever y'all call it over there. Go to the stores and tell me if you see a group of Asians jumping on one Asian person. If that's just normal behavior. It's not. It is not normal behavior. We got to figure out, well, I mean, Well, I already said what it was. It's the lack of fathers. Because if you look at the lack of fathers in all these demographics, it's worse in the black home. It's not like that in the Asian home, Hispanic home, white home. It's like that in the black home, and as a result, there's a lot more criminality, a lot more violence on that side. And until you fix that, you can build a million community centers. You can give a million grants to do whatever, all kind of programs. It's not going to work. We've been doing it for the last 40 years. It hasn't helped. Crime has gotten worse. It hasn't gotten better. But yet the government keeps on telling y'all, we need more money for this program. We need to fund this right here. We need more funding for the schools. You give money to the schools, and what happens with the money? It gets stolen. It gets misplaced, misused, whatever the case. Right? It's like, I mean, you can't. We have to start recognizing there's a hole at the bottom of the bucket, right? You keep pouring water into the bucket, and you're wondering why the water won't fill to the top because there's a hole in the bottom of the bucket. Until you fill the hole, you won't be able to fill up the bucket with water. Until we deal with the home life of these kids, we're not gonna change the criminality, the lack of education, and just lack of respect, all the wretchedness. We're not gonna be able to fix any of that. It's going to continue. 10 years from now, we'll be having these same conversations about the same people. Because nothing is different. It's I know somebody out here is hearing me. Somebody is hearing me. Let's see here. Oh, I want to okay. Man, I don't know how many of y'all have checked out my YouTube page. But go check out my YouTube page after this video cuts off. Go watch some of my videos that I made. Y'all let me know, man. Comment on them. If you like them, hit the like and share them. And of course, if y'all have not subscribed at this point, just take a second, probably like a half a second. Go to that little subscribe and hit it, right? And it'll say subscribed, right? That's all you gotta do. And then see that little notification bell. And then when I drop something, you'll be able to know that I dropped something and you'll check it out. And let me know what you think about it. Let's see here. Adrian said, so when are we going to have a conversation about black culture? Hey man, we can have it, man. We can have this conversation next week, buddy. You can definitely come on here, man. We can have it next week. I'm about to get off here in a minute. But we can definitely have this conversation. We can do this next week. Because we gotta do it. We gotta have a conversation about it, man. I mean, it's gotta be more than a conversation. But I'll talk to politicians about this, man. They don't even want to hear that. They don't want to hear if you're not telling them about community centers. If you're not telling them about some kind of government program or something, they don't want to hear it. All they want is more money to trade hands. That's all. They don't want to fix these problems. If they wanted to fix the problems, they could just incentivize fathers being in the home, and we'd have less crime. We'd have better education. We'd have better disciplined kids, more productive kids. It would fix the problem, but I mean, you always gonna have issues. But I'm saying it would be changed like overnight. It would be a huge change. They don't want that to happen. Lou said, I was born in D.C. and lived in all black neighborhoods, including the projects with bars on the doors and windows. I can say from personal experience that you know what you're talking about and Nick doesn't. Hey, shout out. I mean, I came up on that side. Like, I get it, and you get it too. When you grow up in certain areas, you understand it better. But when you go and try to tell somebody that doesn't understand it, hey, I know you don't believe that this is the case, but this is the case, okay? Trust me, it's the case. I witnessed it for the last 30 years of my life. And they're like, I just don't want to, because I asked Nick, I said, I asked him, who commits the most crime in the city, right, or whatever. And he was like, he didn't want to say black people, so he was like, I mean, I would think it would be white. He told me he thought it was white people, right? And I was like, no, it's not. Like in my city, we have maybe I don't know, a handful of white people that commit homicide, like a shooting. I ain't gonna say homicide, a shooting. It's like very few. I mean, you can probably count on these hands the number. Black people, you need about 15 arms, right? You need about 15 hands to count all those shootings. And when you tell somebody that, it's like, okay, that's the reality. Now let's deal with that. But they don't want to accept that that's the reality. It just is what it is. I didn't make it this way. All right? I didn't make it this way. All I'm saying is I recognize this is the case. So I'm trying to address it. Because I address it, people they get upset. They want to block you. I'm talking about people just like on Facebook or whatever, or people just get upset when you call out or point out the obvious that they don't want anybody to know about, right? It's like that hush hush thing or whatever. It's like the family member that's taking advantage of a little girl or whatever in this family, and like the family knows about it, but they don't want to say anything out loud because they don't want anybody else to know about it. And it's like until you call it out and deal with it, it's gonna keep going on, and he's gonna probably do it to not only that little girl, but another little girl and another little girl until somebody does something to him, and then he can't do it anymore. So you got to stop being quiet and stop ignoring these issues, right? And I'm gonna keep on doing. I'm gonna keep on doing it. Sometimes, man, it's crazy, like trying to get across to people about these certain issues, but you got to do it because otherwise, there's a lot of people that out here that's not doing it. I mean, I'm in the minority. Like, there's not many people that want to talk about this type of stuff, and I realize that, I get that, but it's got to be done. It has to be done. Adrian says, I think it would be cool to have Zoom meeting or live with multiple people to discuss black culture and how it relates to the state of our city, our state, and our country. Yeah, that'd be cool. That'd be cool. I think I think on this platform right here, I think I can host like 10 people on here. I think I can do that. I think I can do like 10 people on here. But yeah, that'd be cool to have multiple people from different backgrounds too. It'll be good. I mean, we need people that are familiar with the culture and understand, and then the people that maybe don't understand, so that they can understand, they can get a better understanding of what we're talking about. It'd be definitely good. But yo, I'm finna get off of here. Thank y'all. I appreciate y'all for being here. I really do, man. From the bottom of my heart, I appreciate y'all for taking the time to watch the Captain's Quarters show with me hosting, L. Milliner, the captain. I appreciate y'all. Let me know. I'd be glad to be a part. Yep, student psychology. Hey, what's up, man? Yeah, I did that in school too. I did mental health counseling. You wouldn't think so. You wouldn't think so with how cold I am, but yeah, I did that too. Good night, yeah, man. Good night, Lou. I appreciate you for watching. Thank y'all, Adrian, Jay, Kitty, everybody that commented, everybody else that watched as well. And if you're watching the replay, thank you as well. I am finna head off, so let me do my ending. This was the Captain's Quarters show. I was your host, L. Milliner, the captain. Until next time, I am gone.